Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph. It's going to be September 9th soon.
Jeez, yeah.
Sooner for you than it will be for me.
True.
Yeah.
I get a preview.
That's how it works. Not because like you want it more, like you want September 9th more than I do. It's just kind of like a time zone thing.
Time is funny that way. I when I lived in Portland when I was like in my early 20s, I remember one night I was at a nightclub that closed at 2, and there was like some weird daylight savings time. So at 2, when you thought the bar was going to close, it suddenly became 1 a.m. and you got like another bonus hour at the bar.
The worst is when it'd be the opposite.
Yeah. I think the
night's over earlier. What the fuck?
Right. So, but so I get the day an hour earlier.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. I was gonna find this tweet from Madonna the other day, but if I could find it, it is like the weirdest. Like, oh, Madonna, if you want something bad enough, ... the universe, period, will conspire, period, to, period, help, period, you, period, get it, period. The fuck? And I wrote, I responded, I said, clearly, period, I, period, didn't, period, want it, period, it, ...
I've seen like a lot of people tweeting stuff like that lately, and it's weird, like, because like that's like the prosperity gospel, like God wants you to be rich.
Isn't that bullshit Oprah book? Like a bunch of other like celebrities pushed it. If you just keep saying you want it,
right?
The question, what the fuck was it called?
Was it The Cabin or the? It is some Oprah-ish thing.
Life book, like stuff. Like if you want it, and you just keep saying you'll get it. Oh, then you'll get it.
But that's like the key. I remember like when I was a kid, like super into the occult and stuff like that, I would read those Aleister Crowley books. And that was basically his whole shtick on Satanism or whatever, is that like, if you really want something, and then the universe will help you get it, and it was like, that was it.
I mean, you got to figure out like the legal way to do it though, because you couldn't go get it. You just might end up like in jail.
Right.
Do it,
right.
Too quickly or
too point.
Obvious.
Madonna's a kind of a freak. I mean, I like a lot of her older music. Like, it really does hold up pretty well.
I just find I just amazed though that she would be at this point in her life, she would just be this aloof person that just lives in her own bubble. I'm just shocked she is that. I just can't believe that she would be this like person that just doesn't live in reality.
She lost me when she developed a British accent.
That was great. I love that.
Because my wife's from the Detroit area, and so is Madonna. And
Did your wife develop a British accent?
No, she is yet to develop a British accent. But we drove out to like a suburb once to visit a friend of my wife's, and it was like right near where Madonna grew up, like in the same neighborhood, little neighborhood. And it's like, you're just this girl from Michigan, Madonna. You're not like a
well, I mean, it wasn't like, was it a British accent or was it like a fancy accent?
I haughty, British, like, to me,
a little more upper, like, because that's always been like a funny thing, and we'll talk about that soon. Speaking of British,
yeah.
British. It's like in movies, like if you want like a character be smart sounding, or if you want like the scientist character, the smart character, you would get like a British person. They had like a prestige to it, something about the accent. Yep. Usually they don't cast like hayseeds to be in the science role. Like, you see, the thing is that when the pregnant theory, it's always like, hey, well, hello.
Yeah, I mean, that is why they chose Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan to kind of like portray Jim Backus, the guy who played Roscoe on Dukes of Hazzard, because he was also up for the role
too. Yeah, he was up for the role of Obi-Wan.
Right, he could have been. Jim Backus. He was
They were
gonna.
gonna get that. They were originally gonna cast the guy from Green Acres, this con man.
Yeah. Oh,
They were gonna try to get the con man from Green
yep.
Acres to play Obi-Wan, but the screen test came back and people just weren't
Yeah.
believing he was a wise old Jedi.
The truck driver from Smokey and the Bandit was
Yep.
also up for the role.
Yep.
So
It
there's
was weird. They went through like a whole series of just like they went through like 6 people from Hee Haw,
yeah, yeah.
and Kanye Twitty was also up there. And it was just weird. They were like, Lucas, he was trying to hammer it home. He was like, I truly believe that Obi-Wan should be played by a shit
cartoonish
king,
Southerner.
yeah, cartoonish Southern hayseed / catfish wrangler. And
Yeah.
the test screenings were like, George, half the budget went to us recasting Obi-Wan.
Right, but it paid. Yeah, it paid off in the end. That's
yeah,
why.
Yeah,
that's why Lucas is in Hollywood, and I'm just sitting here in my laundry room doing a podcast. Because I would have.
Well, Lucas wanted the hayseeds. What I'm saying.
That's right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right. So what we got
what are we talking about today, Joseph?
We do have a British angle here, but we're going to start out talking about a couple different shows and movies that are on our radar. She-Hulk, House of the Dragon.
That's kind of British sounding.
Yep.
Some British sounding people.
And
Hobbit, the new Hobbit movie or show.
The Rings of Power. You saw Morbius and Nope. You're going to talk about that briefly.
Yeah, real quick.
And then we're going to talk about the passing of the Queen. Queen Elizabeth passed away.
What?
Yeah. We're going to talk about.
Believe that.
Yeah, she woke up this morning and then she went back to bed, and Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle.
She did a Yoda. And she faded in the blanket.
She's now a Force Queen. Yeah, she appears like
yeah.
in a vision to King Charles III. We're going to talk about the Queen passing. We're talking about Trump and Trump versus the Department of Justice.
That just sounds like Super Friends episode. Trump versus Department of Justice. It's a Super Friends versus Trump. That's what it sounds like.
It really does.
Back in the Justice Department.
That's not that far off.
That monkey with the twins.
Yeah.
The Wonder
right, the Wonder Twins. What were their names? Jana and Zana?
Sure.
Jane and Zane.
Yeah.
We're talking about Steve Bannon.
Water, and the other one turned to like animals or something.
Yeah. Well, the animal, the girl could turn into animals, which seemed pretty cool and useful, and the dude could only turn into various like water related things, like ice or water.
Well, I mean, if he turned into like hot steam, man, he could fuck someone up.
But like, you couldn't do it yourself. Like someone, like the girl had to carry around a bucket.
Yeah, that's stupid. I would write that differently.
Yeah.
I would make them a little bit more deadly.
Like sentient water, like mobile water.
Yeah, like or
you can move.
Controlling water.
That yes.
Turn into water.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not here to talk about that.
We're talking about Steve Bannon getting
another cartoonish villain.
Yes.
He got handcuffed today. That was very satisfying to watch.
That was really satisfying.
He does look like when I say like Frog March, and he does. Well, he's more like a toad than a frog, but whatever.
Hell comes to Frogtown indeed. And then we're going to talk about the another wave of abortion trigger bans went into effect. I think it was yesterday or the day before.
And those GOP people don't seem to be proudly running around the streets claiming victory for this.
No.
They're trying to avoid it, if anything.
The Texas Tribune has run a series of articles on women, normal, everyday, regular women that have been really devastated by this. And none of them are elective abortion. So obviously, like, that's a big part of it too.
Well, let's save it. Let's save it for the conversation there.
We're talking about the election in general. And then a Texas judge. We'll finish off with the tale of a Texas judge.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So real quick, before we get into She-Hulk.
Yes.
Episode 4, House of Dragons, episode 3.
Yeah.
And then Lord of the Rings. Is it called Lord of the Rings?
And no, it's called like the Rings of Power, I think.
Cock ring?
No. That's a
Jeff,
different show.
what's his name?
You're
What's the
you're
guy's name? The
you're
Amazon dude.
you're
What's his name?
confusing your Cinemax subscription with your
Yeah, what's the name of the guy who runs
oh
Amazon?
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos' cock ring of power.
No, that's a much different show. I think it's called The Rings of Power. Yeah, The
Rings of
Rings of
Power.
Power. That's the name of it.
Okay. Well, real quick, I just want to talk about some things I saw.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, last night I was like doing some drawing stuff and I didn't know what was on. And then I saw that Morbius was on Netflix and I was like, it just got dumped on Netflix. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna go check it out. I've been wanting to actually, they made memes about it. They laughed about it. The joke was it got re-released in the theater because all the morbing time memes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Sony miscalculated and realized that people were just making fun of it and not actually wanting to see it.
Yeah.
So like I wanted to go into the movie and just be like, okay, all this shit people were talking about it, maybe it's not as bad. Maybe
Right.
it's a mediocre film and it's just like it, people want to make fun of Jared Leto, some for really good reasons.
Yeah.
Some just because he's a fucking weirdo, others because he's like a weird cult leader, like he does those weird camps where he
Hmm.
does weird cult camps, and then supposedly there's some other creepy stuff about him and
I'm sure.
whatever. There's stuff about him that's come out, and I was like, I'm not gonna let if it's a good movie. I'm just gonna. I didn't pay to go see it in the theater. I'm not gonna pay to rent it, but it's on fucking
Right.
Netflix. I'll put it on.
It's
And
more
let
than
me tell
time.
you, the movie is fucking
Yeah.
terrible.
You
It
said that.
is. Yeah, I think you should still watch it. I think it couldn't hurt. Put it on. Like it doesn't visually, it doesn't look bad. Like the vamp Morbius effect. I didn't care. Like he actually looks more like the comic character in
Mm.
the movie. He this more monstrous
Yeah.
face and looks like straight out of the comic. But like it's just bad. It like the problem is with these to make a Morbius movie is just stupid because it's like well, first of all, like if they had like a clever writing team, maybe they could have done something more interesting. Like the basic plot is like he suffers from some disease and he's like in a home. They show him in Greece like 30 years ago
Hmm.
when he's a kid, and he meets this other kid, this British kid, who's like comes from a rich family. And he suffers from the same disease as well, and they become like best friends. The British kid's played by Matt Smith,
Yeah.
who also in Game of Thrones, new
Hmm.
Game of Thrones, which you could talk about. And he's basically like the villain in the movie because he somehow like Morbius was supposed to come up with. Well, first of all, his name's Michael Morbius, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny. Like that's his actual name. Like it's not like he's
Right.
you're like some kind of Morbius. Well, I actually have all his name, so this works out perfectly. You know, um, he like he's working on a way to like fix their disease. Like they
Yeah.
both technically outlived. They should have been dead. Like they have like cystic fibrosis or something. Like something that like
Yeah. Yeah.
will prevent them
Dramatically
from.
shortens your lifespan.
Yeah, they're weak all the time. They can't really live a normal life. They're very sick. He's like, it's something to do with bats, like vampirism and bats, and it backfires, and it like he's cured of the disease, but like he has to drink blood. He's like literally a vampire. He drinks fake blood, like artificial blood,
Yeah.
but
Synthetic. Yeah.
as he drinks the synthetic blood, his body craves the real shit. And he notices like this is like in the beginning he's like okay. Like he notices he has like a 6 hour window, but then it
Hmm.
breaks he's timing it and now he's like he needs it 4.5 hours. And
Mm.
then he needs it less than 4 hours. And eventually he's just gonna be like, I need human blood to survive. And he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to kill people. He doesn't
Right.
want to, he's a good guy. Matt Smith's character is the opposite. And that's like the movie though. It's just like
Yeah.
them hunting each other, and it's like he's not really a hero. Matt Smith's like a straight up like just douchebag.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. It's just like a bad movie. And then to make it worse, so like I said, you watch and you're just like, okay, this was like a pointless movie. It feels like something made in like the early 2000s. It could have been any like shitty horror movie like I
Right.
Frankenstein or any of these like just not that good. Like they got like lots of like big special effects and everything, but the movies are just not good. And that's kind of what this is. And it's like, yeah, it's based on the Marvel legend, which is funny. They say that, and
Sure.
but they more Sony's like wanting to like make you think, like con people to thinking like you're seeing a Marvel movie.
That's
And,
yeah.
and it's
For
like they make a couple of references to Venom because that's the only movie they could reference. But then, like in the end of the movie, after everything's said, Morbius kills his friend, unfortunately, because the guy was just killing people. He had no
yeah.
qualms. He had to kill him in the end. Um, and then he goes off to do Morbius stuff. Gets like a lab. He's like doing. You think he's doing some like vigilante work, and he follows these kids who are like trying to get a person to take like counterfeit money.
Yeah.
And he sorry, I'm spoiling this masterpiece. Counterfeit money, and the person doesn't want to take it, and he follows these gang guys or whatever trying to push counterfeit money. Goes back to their place, basically says like, yeah, I'm taking over here. This is I'm trying to turn this into a lab so I can further study, cure my disease, and maybe also help cure people who suffer from my ailment
Right.
without them turning into vampires. And whatever. So it's like Morbius was a bad guy in the beginning of the comic. This guy's like not really a bad guy. But
Yeah.
then like out of nowhere, they show clips of Michael Keaton. So like this, it's like again, this is like Morbius, I guess, takes place in the Venom
Yeah.
Sonyverse. And and they bend reality breaks apart in Spider-Man No Way Home. We saw Venom in the MCU in
Right.
the MCU for 2 seconds. He leaves
A
piece of
part of a
symbiote
symbiote.
behind.
Yeah.
So that and Marvel's like, yeah, we don't need to use this version of Venom. Thank you for leaving us behind. Um, Reality shifts, and Michael Keaton's character from Spider-Man Homecoming, where he played the Vulture,
Yeah.
ends up in a prison cell. And he has like one funny line. He goes, "Well, I hope the food's better here," because he realizes he's in a different
Different.
reality.
Yeah.
And then the prison has to let him go because I guess he doesn't exist in this world, this
Right.
guy,
So he couldn't have done anything
and
wrong.
he's not in jail, so they have to let him go legally. And then Morbius is driving, like it looks like a car. This is like literally okay. So then there's credits again. So I guess Michael Keaton's character got screwed. He's shoved in the fucking shitty Sony verse, and so I guess we'll never see the Vulture again in the MCU, thanks to this shitty movie. I like the Vulture. I thought he was a cool villain. I would have liked
Yeah.
him to come back, but unless
Uh,
we're gonna have to see him in a Sony movie. But I have a feeling there won't be any because this movie bombed and it was
yeah.
terrible. So then they show more after credit scenes, and then all of a sudden there's the final credit scene, and it's Morbius driving a car, but it looks like a fucking car commercial. Like it looks like they just snuck in a car commercial into the movie.
Okay.
Like the way it's shot,
Yeah.
focusing
Yeah.
heavily on the car. It's like this nice luxury car. And then for some reason, he stops the car, gets out. And all of a sudden, you see this smoke and this giant wings, robot wings, and it's the Vulture. But like he looks a little different. He has like a mask is
Okay.
different. It's like an upgrade of the costume from him. And they didn't get Michael Keaton in this scene, but they added his voice.
Okay.
And he tells Morbius, he goes, you know what? I think we need to go after the Spider-Man guy. And it makes no fucking sense. Like, and Morbius is like does no idea what Spider-Man is.
Right.
Nothing
Yeah.
in the movie mentions Spider-Man. Nothing like there's no
Jesus.
reference to Spider-Man. Morbius is just trying to like fix his blood addiction problem where he turns into a ravenous monster. Spider-Man's not on his mind, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, I agree." He's like, "Yeah," and Vulture's like, "Yeah, maybe we could do some stuff, some good stuff while we're at it too. Like we'll start a team." And it's like, what the fuck is this? And I just felt bad for Jared Leto in that scene
Yeah.
and stuntman who was in the costume.
Right.
Michael Keaton's voice added an ADR later.
God.
So bad. It deserves all, it
Yeah.
deserves like the rap. Okay, real quick before we go into the other stuff, did you see, and I think, did we talk about this? They are working on another movie though, Madam Web.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you read the basic plot of that movie?
Yeah, that was terrible. It was basically there's like a team of like spider themed people that are working to conspire to allow Peter Parker to be born or something, like time traveling to, I mean, it just sounded like horrible.
It sounds so awful. What's his face though? I guess plays like a young Uncle Ben, the guy from
Oh,
Severance.
jeez. Oh, uh, Adam Scott?
Yeah, Adam Scott. It's
Okay,
like, why
wow.
you make Adam Scott do this, man?
Yeah.
I know he's a working actor, but like,
Uh,
this would be another horrible movie. It
this will
sounds
be bad.
terrible, and I hate this like whole like higher like Spider-Man got accidentally bit by a
It was
fucking
a
spider.
fluke.
That's
The whole
it.
point
It's
was that it was
all
a
it is.
fluke.
And they
Yeah.
always I hate whenever like they go back and try to like make it like this was destiny or this was
Yeah.
like
It's
no.
stupid.
He literally was at the wrong place, the wrong time. He was at a lab and a spider bit him.
Well, that's the real beauty of a character like Spider-Man is it could be anyone. He's essentially a normal kid, you know.
Well, except for the fact that he was like also happened to be super smart and was able to develop webs.
Yeah.
Like, well, I guess now that I'm bit by a spider, I better come up with a
better
formula and
better
shoot
invent
webs.
webs.
Yeah, I'm not shooting these out of my wrist or ass like a normal spider would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I know it's always funny that he had the Tobey Maguire movies where he
Yeah.
shot cum out of his wrist.
That one scene of him in a bedroom with webs everywhere. Do you remember that?
Yeah, like,
That was great.
oh, jeez, not going to a first Aunt May.
Oh, hold on.
Like that
Don't
scene.
come in.
You ever see that South
I'm
Park kid
combing my hair.
stand at the computer after he finally
Yeah.
gets the internet back, and it's just like cum
Yeah.
everywhere.
That was basically the yeah.
I liked in the Spider-Man No Way Home when they talked about that and how gross it
Yeah, that
sounded.
was weird.
I always thought it was just like, okay, this was just the writer's way of being like, you know what, we don't want to spend like a time like of him having to now go develop like those web wrists.
Well,
So we're just gonna say that they come out of his wrist and move on.
I remember there being like a bunch of episodes and even some of the TV shows of Spider-Man back in the day, uh the cartoon ones, where like a big plot point would be like he's
He
out of
ran out of
web
the web
fluid.
fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, fuck
Well,
me. I
remember
mean,
in Spider-Man 2 when he ran out of web fluid because he it was almost like he was impotent, like he
yeah,
couldn't put it up.
right.
Like that's literally what that was. They were like
So
he needed web Viagra.
right.
Um,
Well,
like I mean, oh, and this was like the worst thing about Spider-Man. I remember at the time in the comics because the movie was like a big success. So they're like, we have to now change the character in the comics where the spider, where the vet, and they
yeah.
changed it eventually, like a couple years later. But they had to come up with
Uh,
this convoluted story where he was like reborn,
God.
spider-like, and that's why he could shoot webs out of his
Yeah, out
wrist.
of his physical body.
Yeah,
Well, you also saw a different movie that you liked quite a bit. You saw
nope,
Nope. I've
nope.
heard great things about it. I have not seen it. Did
Yeah,
where
I
did
liked it. It was definitely better than Us. Still not as good as
Get Out?
Get Out, but that movie's great.
Where
That's
did you see Nope?
Jordan
Is it
Peele.
streaming somewhere or?
Nope. Well, we saw it at the Alamo Draft House.
Oh, okay, yeah,
We
yeah.
went to the theater. It was like one of those evening. We never been to an Alamo Draft House. They had one in like Denton and
There's one
there's
down in
one in
Irving, I think.
yeah. There's one in Irving. There's one in I don't know if the one in Denton's still there. Not far from UNT.
I don't think it is, and I think the one in
Oh,
Irving shut down too. To be honest with you,
well, I think a lot of the pandemic kind of screwed things
yeah.
up. They might have reopened them. I don't know, but I don't know. I always heard good things about them. Like they'll do like special screenings of movies. It's like a
Mhm.
real geek type place. They take it like really serious. They're strict. They say like if you talk
Yeah.
during the movie, they will kick you out. It says it right in the beginning. Like they're like we respect cinema here. They but the cool thing about seeing this movie, I don't want to ruin anything. It's a good
Mhm.
movie. It's not like I liked it because it's like there's some themes and things in there like with history and but I feel like like Us, I feel like it was like trying too hard.
Yeah.
It was just like too much. It was like he was trying too hard, and I don't know. This one I feel like was more like you watching it's just like a good movie, and it didn't need to be this like big revelation.
Right.
Like there's still some twists and there's some interesting, and it's definitely like a horror movie in some ways. But the cool thing about seeing in this theater, now I don't know what it's like in other theaters. I have a feeling this is like an Alamo Drafthouse exclusive thing.
Mm-hmm.
They showed all these weird, like, well, one of them was like a documentary on like the Black Cowboys
Okay,
and
cool.
with cinema, because it has to do with like the fact that the first like motion
Yeah, the first
footage
film
is of
clip.
a black man riding a horse.
Mm-hmm.
It's and they never, no one knows who it is. The person actually was in the video. So they talk about that, and there's like a documentary, but then they show like the Scorpion King trailer, and then they show like some weird videos and like Chris Kattan as Mr. Peepers from SNL. It's just this weird video package for the
Huh.
movie. And it was awesome because when you watch the movie, you realize that everything you saw in the beginning, if you got to the
Oh,
theater early,
cool.
all plays into that. All these themes and like scenes,
Huh.
there's a reason why they showed the Scorpion King trailer, the one with the Rock. There's
Yeah.
a reason why Mr. Peepers, Chris Kattan character, where he played like the missing link. You remember that on
Yeah,
SNL?
yeah.
That thing's funny. Me and Roger watched a bunch of those. He's so gross. He's like spins an apple. He's like, bah, bah.
Yeah.
It's so gross. um, it's just a cool movie experience.
Yeah.
Like if you
Nice.
see Nope, I would say like try to see it at an Alamo Draft House because I don't like it makes me want to go see more movies there
Right.
because
That's interesting.
that was just like a cool instead of like just the same crappy like AMC commercials where they're like do these trivia questions or
Yeah.
like crappy commercials or like sign up for AMC rewards card, like
Yeah.
and then they go show some trailers. This one was like different. It was like a cool. And then as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, like it's like that
Yeah.
gif of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing to the screen.
Oh,
The people
yeah.
use the way, hey,
Yeah. That's cool.
you know what I'm talking about? The one where he's like sitting at
Yeah.
the on the couch. I think it's from the Quentin Tarantino Hollywood
Yeah. Once
movie.
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, and there's a scene where he's like
Yeah.
kind of shocked. It's literally what I was like watching that movie after watching all the. But I liked it. Like I said, is it the best movie in the world? No, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah. No, I'll
Definitely.
definitely check it out when it comes on streaming.
Yeah, I mean, you could rent it now, I think, but
Yeah.
I think it's expensive right now. I'll probably end up on like I can imagine it'll end up on like HBO Max.
That seems like it'd be a good
We
fit for it.
watched Get Out afterwards
Oh
for like
yeah.
day because we're like told Roger like you should watch that. So that wasn't available on anything. We had to rent it, but we had some like credits and stuff. That movie's great.
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
is
did
a
my
great
son like
movie.
it? I mean, again, it like really picks up in the last 20 minutes. That's when like all the action is in the movie. It's
Hmm.
really just more like the setup and
Yeah,
like
the slow burn.
auction scene, how
God.
fucked up that is, and you're just like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I told
And
Roger after like watching it, like everybody was like excited to meet him because they were
yeah.
hoping to become him. They wanted to become him.
They wanted they wanted to appropriate his body.
Well, that was like the creepy thing about it was like what Get Out was like they can't fully put your brain in the body. They said they
Mhm.
still need like there's still pieces of brain left of the
Right.
original person.
You go into what do they call it? The under or the
Well, it's almost like you are now, yeah, the sunken place, and
that's it. Yeah.
you're not in control. You're just like a passenger.
Yeah.
So, like technically, the person's like still alive.
Right.
They're like living in hell, and they're just gonna watch some other guy do whatever, like bone his old wife or
God,
whatever, and
crazy.
like make them live their life. And it's just so funny, like how creepy all that was. Like the guy when you find spoilers for this movie that came out
15
like the
years, yeah.
maid, the house, what do you call it? Like the housekeeper and
Hmm.
like the guy that was actually the grandmother and the grandfather.
Yeah.
It was their house. Like they're just so weird. What was it like? Just like a flashing light was enough to like fuck everything up and wake the
Yeah.
original
Wake
person up a
wake them
bit.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty nuts.
Yeah. That was a good one. Yeah.
All right, so let's just go into She-Hulk episode.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I loved it. I don't think there's not a ton to it. Like we were texting about it, and it's not like a continuity arc
Well, there
episode.
is continuity. I mean,
There
there's
is. I
stuff
mean,
about her becoming more She-Hulk, but
Well,
This episode,
and
go ahead.
Tatiana shows up at the end.
Well, she's
Yeah, Tiana. What's her name?
Titania. She's only
Titania.
mentioned. She doesn't show up.
No, no. You see her. You see her mentioned by the process server.
Spoilers. She's suing She-Hulk because she basically decided to patent the name She-Hulk because she's
Yeah,
also like a muscle-bound like woman and everything. That's like her whole character. So
yeah.
she's like, no, I'm She-Hulk. And so
It.
she decides to take She-Hulk to court. And it's funny because She-Hulk's a lawyer, so it's just gonna be like really
Yeah,
uh so like the plot of this episode is that you meet a magician named Donnie Blaze, which is
yeah.
funny because there's a guy named Johnny Blaze who's Ghost
Right,
Rider.
Knight Rider.
Well,
Yeah, I
right,
mean Knight Rider.
like, is this guy related to Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider?
Yeah,
It's possible. Um, and I guess he's abusing magic or something.
he
And
he
so what's
went
his
to
face?
study under Wong and then dropped out after a week.
He brought his frat brothers or
Yeah,
something, and just like, and Wong wants to sue him basically, stop him
yeah.
because one he's opening like portals to other dimensions and like
Right.
he basically says the same funny kind of speech he says like in Spider-Man and the other thing about opening like these dimensions or
Yeah.
like dark forces, and that's literally what happens. Is a scene where like tons of little demons come in.
Right.
That's a great scene. I have to rewatch the
Yeah,
episode.
that is good.
And you get to see some actual She-Hulk action. You know, she's fighting those things.
Yep.
Um, so that was cool. Wong's great. That guy is great as
Oh,
well.
he was so funny.
We got to meet a new character, Wong's future wife,
Madison.
or just bestie, Madison. With that, you don't know where the Y is. Some drunk girl that was at the joke. Okay, so the joke is like it begins with that Donnie Blaze magician.
Yeah.
I was watching like Screen Crush. They made a good point and said that like all the tricks he was doing, that you gotta figure like if you live in the actual Marvel universe,
Right.
everything this guy's doing is not interesting. I mean, you lived through the blip, you've seen footage of like Doctor Strange
Yeah.
fight. Like you imagine all the stuff's on video, like people are iPhones and stuff, like Ultron taking over the city, the Hulk destroying the city. So this guy doing tricks. So he's like desperate. So he starts opening portals. And that Madison girl, Madison,
Right. Yeah,
gets
Madison.
stuck in like a hell dimension. She's like totally like drunk. She's basically playing like, you know that SNL character was like the girl you don't want to, the drunk
Yeah, by
talk
Cicely
to.
Strong. Yeah.
Yeah, Cecily Strong character.
Yeah.
The girl you don't want to get stuck to talking at a party or whatever.
Right. This girl's like a little more fun than
Yeah,
that
this
girl.
girl's definitely more fun than that character, but like kind of like almost the same.
Yeah.
She ends up in the portal, and then she ends up like in Wong's living room.
Right. She has to make a deal with a goat demon and
Maybe
give the
Rick or
goat
something.
demon like 6 drops of her blood, and then he transports her to Wong. And the first thing, it's such her scenes with Wong are so great. She keeps all Wong wants to do is like binge The Sopranos. I guess you never saw
Spoiling it.
She keeps spoiling
Spoiled
episodes.
on what happened to Adriana and everything.
He's like Donnie
yeah,
Blaze will pay
like,
for this.
I almost want to see a Wong TV show with his assistant
Madison. That would be great. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it would get old quick, but
6 episodes in and out.
6 episodes, you know, that's all we need.
Yeah.
So the whole courtroom scene with She-Hulk, and it's so funny because like it makes me think of like Job a little bit from Development, the whole Proof magazine, the Wizards or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
And like the guy's lawyer is a magician. Like he's
all magicians.
Like, really fucking funny. This was like an enjoyable episode, and like then it's like the plot where She-Hulk's like, you know, I got against dating, and like she tries doing like the app as Jen Walters, and she kind of like, unfortunately, she
gets like a few losers,
and she's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be She-Hulk, and then she gets like thousands of people wanting to date her. And there's a couple of dates that are kind of funny when she's She-Hulk, but then there's like this one guy keeps asking her questions about like vibranium and like if it could break her skin.
Yeah.
And we talked about this before the episode. I think people are gonna like write that scene off and think that like this guy isn't gonna come back. That actor I've seen in tons of shows. He was on a show with Daniel Radcliffe with Steve Buscemi,
okay.
where it was like I forgot what it was. It was called like Messengers or something. First season where Steve
Oh
Buscemi played like
yeah,
God. Well, this guy is in all three seasons, and he's one of the major characters. And I've seen this guy in other stuff too. So there's no way in hell they
right.
casted him to just show up one scene in She-Hulk. And the fact that he's asking her all these like personal questions about her power levels.
Super pointed, yeah.
And you got to remember in the last episode, in the end of the episode, she gets attacked by these four goons who are supposed to be the wrecking crew, or
Mm-hmm.
like they'll become the wrecking crew. And they were trying to break her skin and get her power. So that's why I'm thinking that guy is one of them. He was the one wearing the hood, so you didn't see him.
Yeah,
Because there was one guy wearing a full face hood.
that makes a
And
lot
I,
of sense.
and I think it was him, or he's working with them because he was really curious, asking really weird questions about her, and she didn't know how to answer it. Fucked up scene. So she meets this one guy, and he's like muscular
Yeah,
doctor
yeah.
guy or whatever. And of course, they go and well, Wong takes her out first to help
Help
fight
kill
demons,
demons, yeah.
and then she drops her back off. She has sex with the dude, obviously off camera because it's still
Right.
family show that talks about sex all the time. And which there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
Fuck, with schools denying like sex education to kids, She-Hulk's gonna have to step
They're
in.
gonna have to step in, yeah.
She's got to step in. Um, the next day, here's the thing about She-Hulk, because I talked about this in the first episode too, is that if she goes to bed as She-Hulk, she's just gonna wake up as Jen Walters.
Right.
Like she's just gonna go back into her human form. Dude comes in, after wakes up, she's like making breakfast, but she's in the Jen Walters body, and he has
Right.
no interest in her. She is no
None.
longer this almost 7 foot tall, does She-Hulk character. She's now just
Yeah.
like petite, like it's like it was funny. It's like were they trying to make it like this actress is ugly or
Well,
something?
that's yeah, they really
Like she's cute. Like
well, yeah. The actress
in the
herself
hair.
is super pretty. But in this show, they go way out of their way to make She-Hulk really sexy and Jen really kind of frumpy or whatever.
Yeah,
You know
well,
what I
yeah,
mean?
like she doesn't do anything good with her hair. She doesn't
Right.
like
But you're right, she still is cute. I mean, she's like even Jen when they're trying to make her look like frumpy or whatever, she's still cute, you know. I mean,
but this guy is like clearly, he wouldn't be with her
it is
because
it's
it's different kind of. But he ends up leaving, and I think it's creating like an interesting dynamic in the show because, like, the difference between She-Hulk and regular Hulk is like, well, currently now he's the smart Hulk where he's in
right.
control, but normally Bruce Banner has no control, and they're going to revert. He's going to go back to being that again, where he loses control and turns into the Savage Hulk. He's basically like he is like not like I say, he's not in the driver's seat. He's like a different person. He basically disappears, or like he's like blackout drunk, and he wakes up and sees the city destroyed.
Right.
While She-Hulk, when Jen becomes She-Hulk, she retains all memories and has all her like she is Jen Walters just in this new body. But it's gonna get a point where she's gonna like lose herself, and that's why I said that it's very similar to Teen Wolf. So
Yeah.
in Teen Wolf, Michael J. Fox's character uh, turns into a wolf.
Right.
But the joke about that movie was you would think everyone would be scared of him. But no, they all want to be around him. He's better at basketball.
Yeah.
The theater department wants him to be the lead in the role. They don't want Michael J. Fox. They want the Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf.
He wants to he like in the end of the movie, he's the one that wins the game, not the Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're kind of setting this up too, where Jen is going to lose herself, and like it's weird because she's this other thing, but that's not her. It's like and like I said, in the comics, they did something in like the 80s where they made that she was stuck in the She-Hulk form, and she didn't revert back to Jen. There was no Jen. It was just She-Hulk all the time. And then at some point, Jen came back, and there was like a different kind of dynamic set up. So I'm curious how this is gonna go. That's why I make people are like the fucking Teen Wolf,
Yeah,
but
no,
it
that
is.
makes
It's
a lot of
literally
sense.
the plot of Teen Wolf.
It is interesting because like I thought like that scene. I don't want to read too much into it, but like the guy that the doctor, the pediatric oncologist,
Yeah, the muscle dude.
yeah, he seemed like a genuinely nice guy. maybe it was a shtick, but he's like, he seemed like a nice guy. He said the right things. What are you gonna do? All you can do is say the right things. And then he sees Jen the next morning, and he's like, I'm out of here, and he leaves. And it's pretty heartbreaking to see Jen, because Jen knows, like, oh, I've been rejected. He likes She-Hulk, but
Yeah.
not me. And like, I'm thinking of it from the guy's perspective, like, I that makes sense to me that you would be into one thing and not the other. I mean, like, She-Hulk acts different. Like, Jen acts differently when she's
Right. That's
She-Hulk.
she.
I
Even though,
mean,
yeah, even though she's like her aggression is more. She's
yeah,
still hyper. Like everything's
yeah,
hyper. Like
it's
hyper
amped,
sexualized. Everything's amped up.
right? So, like, would Jen ever make the first move on a guy?
She's
I don't.
crunk. She's doing booty clap dances with.
Right. I don't think so. I think She-Hulk does that, and Jen doesn't. So it is kind of a weird thing about,
Like someone who's drunk, their inhibitions are
yeah,
gone.
right. And
And in a
and so
way, she's kind of drunk. She's like, I mean, she's still in control, but she's like,
she's
it's
more than
exaggerated.
herself. Yeah. So, like, that whole question of identity, I think that
That's
there's,
the thing with Teen Wolf.
yeah, I think there's more to it than that. Like, with Bruce Banner, it's real easy. Like, oh, Bruce Banner is one thing and the rage-filled Hulk is another.
And it's
But
like tragic because he has no control over it.
right.
And no one wants, and the thing is, no one wants to, no one wants to fuck the Hulk. They're
No.
more like,
Right.
he's like a 9 foot monster. He's not like a freaking hourglass shaped like babe.
Yeah. But
Like,
like, with Jen and She-Hulk, it's like, okay, they are also two different beings, even though Jen doesn't realize it currently. You know what I
well,
mean?
like
Like,
when she, like, I think one of the best scenes in the show was after she fights those idiots and
yeah.
the wrecking crew guys.
Oh, and she looks at herself in the
She looks at
reflection.
herself in the mirror and it
Yeah.
kind of gets a little dark, and she's just like, yeah, that like,
Who am I?
yeah, like your bot, like it's an interesting dynamic, and
Yeah.
I think you're gonna see that as the season goes on. Like, I'm glad that this is 9 episodes. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like this is
yeah.
how all these Marvel shows should be. 6 episodes is not enough.
No.
Like,
You can,
or it, because you can do these more like one-off episodes, like the Wong episode. But what's great about the Wong episode is it's still growing for Shield's
yeah.
character. Yeah, it tells like a story that may be like not fully into the so-called narrative, but at least it allows like new interesting
Yeah.
characters, like new. While like Moon Knight, I kind of wished we got like, instead of 6 episodes, 8 episodes, and two of those episodes sandwiched in here and
Yep.
there had Mark Spector going off to fight a different villain that had
Right.
nothing to do with
A
fucking
minor
Harrow,
villain. Yeah.
and like, but he would still evolve. He would still learn something where he
Yeah.
works with his other self. And I just think like that's why She-Hulk is probably one of the better MCU shows because it feels more like a show
Yeah, I
and not
agree.
just like we're doing a 6 hour movie here or we're doing like a 4 hour movie split up in 6 parts. Like Hawkeye worked, but again, it, WandaVision worked the most, I think, just because like the nature of the show, because each
Hmm.
episode up until like the last 2 episodes was different show genres of shows throughout TV history. And
Yeah.
that worked.
That did have like a gimmick that worked.
Yeah, Winter Soldier worked. I mean, Winter Soldier was enjoyable. I just saying, like, I'm just liking She-Hulk's dynamic of like, I like that there's more episodes. You get to
Yeah.
have a little more freedom and do more things. And I'm like, I'm glad that they budgeted out 9 episodes. It's crazy. Okay, like Star Wars, the Andor show's coming out.
Hmm.
That's gonna be 12 fucking episodes.
Nice.
I mean,
Good.
I'm curious what that must mean. That it's gonna be a couple like part two parters or maybe one offs here
Yeah.
to feed into the overall narrative. But like,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
That
Like,
is
I
real
think that's why
cool.
Mandalorian kind of works a little bit because at least like there's like I have a dog snoring. Hear that in the background. There's a Snoopy in the background snoring. Man,
I don't hear it.
you
No.
don't hear it? Oh
Mm-mm.
man, I do. That's good though. Um, like it gives you more freedom. I
Yeah.
think.
No,
Like I kind of think
that's
Miss
good.
Marvel could have worked better if she had like another episode or two.
Yeah, I could have used a lot more Miss Marvel in her regular life. You know, her family was great. I would have liked to have that. Actually, Miss Marvel would have worked great with an episode where like it's just her parents, you know, going through their normal day and seeing Miss Marvel through the parents' perspective or something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and
Okay.
I agree. They had a
I
lot
think
of
I'm glad that they're doing 9 episodes. I think like I mean I get it, it's a budget thing. I just find it
sure,
interesting that She-Hulk's the one that they seem to be like I don't know. I feel like they're doing something different here. And I think
yeah,
like it's funny. The reaction people have to it is funny. I think these people are just rigid as fuck. Like, listen, the MCU fan who thinks like fucking, you know, what was it, Winter Soldier, Captain
yeah,
America
yeah,
is the best movie, and they don't really like the new Thor movie, and they don't really care for Thor
yeah.
Ragnarok. They're not going to be She-Hulk fans. Like
I
that's just a fact.
there's some things where I watch it and people hate on it or whatever, and I'm like, I don't think you're being genuine. I don't think anyone can genuinely bash this show the way it's being bashed. But I can see people not liking She-Hulk. I happen
And
to
it's
love it a
okay.
whole
It's not for
bunch, but
you. It's
yeah,
not for you. That's it. You don't
right.
like it because it's like you need to
It's a
think
little goofy.
goofy.
It's a
But you know
little
what?
self-aware.
The comic was a more of a comical,
Yeah,
like it was more like a jokey book. It
yeah,
wasn't X-Men where like it's all serious and like
right.
Wolverine is fighting like 30 ninjas and like everyone, it's like She-Hulk was like a almost like a little bit of a parody book, the sensational
Yeah,
She-Hulk storyline. But even when they brought back She-Hulk again with Dan Slott in the early 2000s, which is kind of what this series is more, it's like a combination of sensational She-Hulk where she does a lot of that fourth wall breaking, which is from that comic.
oh,
The storyline with the law firm was the one in the 2000s where she's
cool.
working for the law firm. Um, but again, even that book had a more whimsical, like it wasn't as ridiculous as the John Byrne She-Hulk series,
Yeah.
the fourth world breaking, but it was still like humorous with
Mm,
weird, wacky characters and weird situations. So like, I don't know, some people just don't like that shit.
yeah,
But that's
that's
see,
fine.
that's a funny thing. I always love when people try to like lump the MCU and everything like that. Is like Marvel, in theory, for the movies, go back to like
Yeah,
70s,
yeah,
80s, like that. Marvel was a publishing company.
yeah.
And like I'm a big comic collector, and I go look for like older books, and I see weird shit that Marvel put out like in the late 60s, early 70s, like almost like knockoffs of like Archie. And I'm like, Marvel, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
I even heard of this. There were these like weird comic characters and lots of romance books. And you gotta realize like it's a publishing company and
right.
they gotta get as many different people, just like the comics, there's people who just liked Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. They
Yeah,
don't want
geez.
to read Fantastic Four. It's
Yeah.
just that's all it is. So I think the problem is with the MCU is people people expect that everyone's gonna like everything the MCU does. But if you've got
Right.
to look at it, it's like, no, they're putting out diverse, even though there's these idiots that claim that everything this Marvel puts out is the same, which is bullshit.
No.
Those people are not really watching it. Or those are the type of people who are like, you find out like they were super excited about the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Right.
Okay,
Right. Yeah.
okay, fuck off. Like you're get out of here. And I say to them, I don't mean like you're not allowed to like that, but it's very revealing.
It is. Yeah. It shows your
um,
hand.
yeah, you're not gonna expect. You can't be expected to like everything.
No, you don't
If
have
Moon
to.
Knight was your favorite show, She-Hulk might not be your favorite show. You
Yeah.
know, if like Thor Ragnarok's your favorite movie, whatever might not be. I mean, it's that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. Now the problem is now with Disney, with MCU, because they want to make as much money as possible. Because that's the thing about Marvel, is a comic company, and books get canceled, and they just move on to the next thing. Well, I think probably their biggest failure is probably Eternals, from what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
that would be my guess. And I did not care for Eternals.
They
I
tried something different,
Yeah,
and it was okay. It was a little. It just wasn't.
it
It was
was
kind of
slow.
like
I
it's
just found it
definitely one
slow.
movie I never like was like super excited to rewatch. I do like the one guy became like a Bollywood star.
Yeah.
I was thought that was kind of fun, but it's yeah, I don't know. It, I'm excited for the next episode.
Yeah.
I think the next episode is gonna be fun because I feel what's her face is going to come back, Titania.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see where the show. I don't know where the show's going to go. I don't know like where it's mapped, and I like that. That's
Yeah.
what I like about it. Like I feel like with some of these other shows, even like with Moon Knight, like where like okay, Harrow's like clearly the only villain. They keep talking
Right.
about that alligator head.
Right.
What was the character's name? The one that's going to come to life.
Sebek or something.
Sebek. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like we knew that's kind of like the end was they were gonna have a big confrontation.
Yeah.
6 episodes. We kind of, even though we didn't know everything that was going to happen in the show, we didn't know where the direction and what they were going to do. And I'm not taking away from the show. I'm just saying we all kind of knew that there would be a big fight in the end with Harrow and
Right.
While and same thing, but this show, I have no idea where it's
That's
going.
a good point. There's really no central conflict for Jen to solve.
Not
I mean,
yet.
like, yeah,
I think
not
they're
yet.
slowly setting it up with like the wrecking crew.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I said like pay attention to that guy at that date. That was not just some dude. That's an act. That's a legit actor who's got like an actual IMDb
right,
page.
right.
Like,
He's got a SAG card.
What?
Got a SAG
no,
card.
I don't mean like I mean like he's like an actual. I'm not saying he's like a name selling out fucking theaters. I'm just saying that that's an actual.
Yeah.
He was casted to play a recurring role. I mean, like, I have no idea where the show's going. I think Loki was kind of like that too. That's what I liked about Loki. You know, it wasn't until like the end we knew with the Kang character, but
it came into focus.
So yeah, all right, let's go on to the next thing. I thought it was good. I liked it. You liked it. Wong was great.
He's so good. Madison was great.
Yeah.
The girl who
Wongers. What you call them? Wongers.
Wongers. Yeah, they were all great. Oh, so the next show is House of the Dragon.
Funny. Well, I love that she was like in a hell dimension. She was like totally okay with it. Yeah, it's just like 6 drops of blood to this fucking demon that we have no idea what it looks like, and she's like totally.
Well, she's like it was scary and then kind of fun and then spooky, and the opposing counsel's like, look, that's a sweet spot for magic.
The guy, the lawyer, that was the best. He's like, yeah, like you got spooky, you got that. This is like you got the full package.
All right, so House of Dragon. Look, I really did not like episode 1.
It was just 2, not a great pilot episode.
No. Episode 2, I think, I wonder if they're like, look, we don't need to do a pilot. People know what Game of Thrones is. We don't.
I know it's so weird that some of these shows they call them pilots still. It's like you clearly like. I don't know. Don't some of these shows just get made straight to order? Some of them,
like this certainly did, but like. Well, that Blood Moon or whatever the first one apparently had a pilot that never took off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so the
one that got canceled with what's her face I missed out. I don't know what her name is.
The first episode I didn't like at all. Second episode I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. Third episode I actually kind of liked. I thought it was really good.
Well, it jumped a bunch of years. We're now like 3 years into the show. You find out in the end of the second episode that the dad, the king, was not going to marry that little girl. He married the older girl.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not going to marry a 12-year-old. I'll marry the 16-year-old.
he's coming into focus as being smarter and kinder than I had originally thought he was. At first, I thought he
clearly still did not like. He regrets having his wife die. Like he truly loved his first wife.
Yep.
He married this other person because, well, one, he enjoyed being around her.
Yeah.
But also because like the whole bullshit of like you have to have a sire, you have to have you have to have a queen, and if it was up to him, he wouldn't have done any of that, and he wouldn't have been. He's kind of a little bit of a miserable drunk because he doesn't really want to be king.
No,
not really. I mean, if it was up to him, he would have fucking like left. Which is funny because then you had like the Matt Smith character who wants it.
Yeah,
too much.
bad. Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this episode, he proved to be the badass in this episode.
Oh, clearly, especially towards the end.
Like I said, like they were trying to like set this guy up. That's speaking of Matt Smith, talking about him in Morbius.
Yep.
He like I said, like they were trying to make him out to be like this badass, but like he gets beat in the joust. The guy can't get it up really. Like he's failing at
He just
this.
seemed like a loser. Yeah.
Yeah, like he just seemed like an asshole loser kind of guy. But this episode, he definitely proved himself. And
The-
like, I mean, he basically goes into like a suicide mission where he literally goes into this battle. And I guess they've been fighting this battle for years,
yeah.
which I find
And
crazy. It doesn't, I'm like, did they do a good job of showing that they've been doing this battle for years? Do you feel like they?
well, it didn't feel like it, but you got a lot of like backstory. And this is the problem. Like if the show is telling you something instead of showing you, that's never a great sign. But you did have minor characters coming in and saying things like the battle's been going on for years and the people are tired. And you even saw like the wives of people were like comfortable telling the king's daughter like your uncle fucked shit up and now your
Yeah.
dad won't fix it. And I mean, like you could
So
tell it
they're
was
fighting this like king on this like crab beach.
yeah,
And this king's got like the worst case of eczema.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Like, what is
What
up with
happened?
that dude?
I
He's like a
wondered.
burn victim or something.
Well, I
Like,
wondered if he survived a dragon attack.
that's
Like
probably what it looks like. Because he's like, isn't he? He looks like he's blind almost. Like his eyes are
yeah,
like he
he
can't
looks
talk.
no, and he looks like his skin is like recovering from burns and
Yeah, it's probably what happened years, like who knows, 10 years
yeah,
ago or whatever. Like, but he's still able to like, I don't know, nods to
right.
people. But Matt Smith runs in and just, and then thankfully, like, I guess the king's people, or like, was it the princess that showed up? I forgot. There was some. He gets some help in the end. That's how he's able to like win. But
Yeah,
he leads the charge by going in there literally by himself,
yeah.
and like what would have been a complete suicide mission.
It is kind of
Um.
crazy. He gets word. This is the only part of the episode I didn't get is he gets
Oh yeah.
word that his brother, the king, is going to send him troops,
Yeah, and he
and
takes it more as like this is a failure on my part.
yeah, and he gets real pissed off. Like, why you like? I'm almost there. Just give me another 3 years, but I'll take this
And
crap
then
king
it's
out.
like it gave him the nudge to be like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna have to just
Yeah,
get this over with," and he just runs in like a lunatic. But he's almost fully successful until the very end. But then he gets help, and then he
yeah,
kills that king. So that's kind of cool. I mean that's interesting, like where this is gonna go. Um, Obviously the princess who was supposed to be in line to be the queen is kind of pissed because he had a son
yeah.
with that woman, and she's pregnant with another kid.
But doesn't the king say like, no, you're still going to be queen? Doesn't he
That
like?
ain't gonna happen though.
I know,
It's
but
gonna have
he,
getting pushed to the side. They and it's interesting too, I guess. They at the age of 2, you get another name.
yeah,
Like this the prince, the new prince who's 2 at this point, is gonna get like another name. And I forgot what the reason was why you get like another name. Like you're not really a baby anymore or something. I don't know.
yeah. I don't understand. They did explain it.
Yeah, there was some explanation
I'll tell you,
about why you get like a second name at the age of 2.
when I watched this episode, I went back and watched most of episode 2 again, and then continued on into episode 3. And so I'm kind of like a little. There's a lot of it that I'm blending episodes 2 and 3 together, like in my memory now. But
Right.
it was a much better put together show, and it was weird because after the first episode, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to watch episode 2.
No,
After
I
episode,
actually was excited to watch this episode
yeah,
3.
episode 3, I
I
was
actually like
pretty,
looked forward to it.
and episode 4, I'm looking forward to. So I don't know. I'm glad I gave it
Yeah,
the shot. It's getting there.
it still doesn't have like certain characters
Yeah,
yet.
it
That's
look.
fine. Maybe it doesn't need to be. I mean, it still has to kind of exist on its own. Like you can't just all of a sudden be like, I'm the guy who's like Tyrion.
Yeah, I'm the new Tyrion. But
Yeah,
they don't have a
I'm the new
Tyrion.
Tyrion.
That's the one thing I will say about this show to me still that I don't like is it is washed out color wise. There's like every scene is like fucking like they never sent it to get colored. Like they didn't send it
Really?
to
I don't know. Maybe you're watching on a bad TV. There's lots of color. I mean, I
no.
kind of see what you mean. I
It's
don't
like
know.
gauzy. It's like all
Yeah.
gauzy or whatever. And the second thing is that like it feels often like joyless. Like,
right. There's no, you don't, because like I said, you had Tyrion,
yeah,
who was a very great character. You also had that guy, what's his name, Viser or whatever, that bald dude who was like the eunuch.
yep. And you
His name,
had
what was his name? Like,
It was Viserys is the guy from this show, but it was something like that. It was like
yeah, that guy who was like, I care for the realm. That
yeah,
guy,
the
like the
spot
bird.
is yeah.
He had the
And
birds that would tell him things. Like he was a great character.
well,
Jamie
and you
was a great
had
character.
Jamie was a great character. You saw Rob and Caitlin. I mean, not Rob. The Eddard Stark and Caitlin had like a happy marriage that was kind of like joyful. Oh, you just had a lot of
Oh
like,
yeah, it was interesting too because the only thing was you knew that like Caitlin resented Ned. She hated Jon Snow
right.
because she thought Ned, like you find out later on, Ned was always good. He didn't even cheat on his wife.
No.
He lied. It was his sister's. His sister, like, was with a
Yeah.
Targaryen or something.
Yeah.
Why you find out Jon Snow's half Targaryen, which mean, and he was also like basically banging his aunt, who
Right.
was what's her name, Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah.
Uh, but they, yeah, they like, I forgot what they were gonna say. They showed you that's how good Ned was. That he had to
Yeah.
lie to his wife. He did it for his family to hide the fact that because they would have killed Jon Snow, I
Yeah.
guess. But
But there was
like,
so much joy in Game of Thrones. Like, I know it was a
I'll
very
say this:
grim
the
and
worst. I
awful.
always thought the worst character was Rob, the older brother.
Yeah, he was kind of like a
He
Mary
just seemed
Sue.
kind of. He just like was whatever. He was just like an uninteresting character. But then he gets killed in the middle
It,
of like third season
he
anyway.
had the same arc and problems as the oldest brother in Happy Days had.
The one who went upstairs his room and never came down again.
Yeah.
Or whatever. That
Yeah.
girl from Family Matters, the middle child. She
Yep.
went upstairs.
He's like
Never
Richie's
came
older
down.
brother. So
Yeah, he went to college forever.
yeah.
They
And
forgot that
that
they
was it.
forgot that he was in there.
Yeah. Well, the original plot line actually had him dying in Vietnam, which was much darker than
Are
Happy
you
Days. No, I'm just
really? Are
kidding.
you...
No, but that
Yeah.
probably would have happened.
Hey, remember when your brother stepped on a mine in Vietnam?
Fuck.
Yeah, sit on it. He should have sat on it. Right, Mr.
Well,
C? Fine, you shouldn't joke about that. That was a very sad moment.
well, I
Hey.
I think that House of the Dragon has kind of turned a corner. I'm looking forward to episode 4. I do hope they bring in some more look, it certainly doesn't have to be
I
comedy
mean,
or
the show's
anything,
gonna
but
expand, but this is the craziest thing. We have one more episode, and then like at episode 5, we get a totally new cast. Like
yeah.
the two girls are getting basically recasted
Yep.
Because they clearly jumped like a decade or something, where the princess is going to be played by a different person, and the current queen is going to be played by a different person.
Good.
I think it's funny because I don't think these actresses are much older than these actresses are. I just find it crazy that they're doing that, and I wonder if that's gonna like fucking like it's like is that gonna throw the show off a bit? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I remember Game of Thrones would have some really bad recasting with some of the characters. Like
Yeah.
there was like the guy that Daenerys like she kind of sleeps with him a bunch of times. He's like a
Yeah.
he ends up becoming like her like guard as
The old
well,
guy,
and
yeah.
not the old guy. The old guy was in love with her.
Oh
This
yeah, yeah.
was a
No, I know.
different person.
Yeah.
And like he gets introduced at the end of a season and it's a totally different looking actor. And then in the next season, that character's there. And for a second, I'm like, what? And then it's supposed to be the same guy. And I'm like, they didn't
Yeah.
even try to find someone that looked like him. Now, I just find that interesting that they're doing that. And it is cool that they're going to jump years. And I'm wondering, like, okay, will season 2 jump even further? Will they, like, by the
Yeah.
time you get to like the last season,
Be like 50, 60 years down the road.
will be like almost right before Game of Thrones, basically.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like where they do tell the story like the Mad King, and I don't know, because then you would have to like get a new Jamie actor or something. I don't know.
You'd need a Jamie and you'd need an Eddard and
I'm just curious like how far they'll jump, but I mean, I'll give them opportunity to introduce new characters. The one thing I do like about this show versus like Game of Thrones is that the problem with Game of Thrones was it was beholden to a book series And
Yeah.
the last season suffered because there was no
There's
book.
no book.
Never fucking there was no. It was 2 books, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't there supposed to be 2 more
Yeah.
books? And they
There's
never fucking finished
2
them.
more books
I
left.
find that insane. And
That guy.
they're never gonna come out. He's never gonna
Nope.
release them.
No.
There's no point. What's the point? He's like, man, I don't care.
Well, and he keeps working on other shit. He's like writing other books and doing this this dragon show and shit. Like,
is he
just
working
finish
on
the
the Dragon
books.
Show at all?
He helped with the script and he acted as like
well, I know in the Game of Thrones series he was heavily involved in the first couple of seasons, but I think as like the show went on, he wasn't really. But that last season, he was just like, yeah, I don't care. No one cared. They just like wanted to finish it. Like those 2 guys sucked. They were supposed to like work on some Star Wars thing, and they had some horrible like Civil War series that thankfully didn't go into production. I don't know. I think with this one, what I like about it is I have no, again, just like talking about She-Hulk, I have no idea where the show's going to go.
Yeah.
And maybe people who've read the books and know the lore more, maybe have like a better understanding, because I know like supposedly in the books, and they go more into like the backstories and stuff like that.
They
like,
do, yeah.
And the past and everything. So I have no clue. So I like going into this like it's new. And now I know I didn't read the books either, but I knew people would talk about it. So I knew some things were going to happen at some point, or some variation was going to happen.
Right.
Like it was funny, like first season when Ned gets killed in the end of the season. And I remember people who read the books were like kind of laughing, like, oh, people were shocked that Ned was killed. And they're like, I mean, anyway, they were probably shocked like they actually went ahead and did it.
When I read the book, when it came out, like the New York Times gave it a really great review, and they're like, this is a fantasy book different than you've read. Anyway, so I read it, and when I read the part about him getting his head cut off, I had to like reread it, and then was this a dream? Was it, because it made no sense. It looked like it was going to be his story, period. Like that.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Oh,
I have the first published work of George R.R. Martin.
Oh, really? What is it?
You want to know what it is?
Is it Night Flyers or something?
No. Fantastic Four issue 20.
Really?
First appearance in Molecule Man. I have that. He writes a letter in the letter section. Young George R. Martin writes and then supposedly there's Avengers comic that came out maybe like a year later. They published another one of his letters.
What is he
he's like a huge dork. He like went to the first Comic-Con like in the mid 60s.
Bitching about why they aren't featuring Herbie.
Yeah. Herbie was a 70s character. Do you know why Herbie exists?
Yeah, because they didn't want to have
like lit himself on fire. So fucking dark. Hey,
kid.
I'm this level robot. Where's Johnny Storm? I'm a robot. Ignore the kid. Ignore the burn kid who lit himself on fire trying to be the Human Torch.
All right. Well, the last show we have that we're going to talk about before switching to current event stuff is the Rings of Power on Amazon, which you've
Rings.
Yeah, you've not loved it, and I thought it was.
I mean, yeah, you hyped it up. You were like, "This."
No, I specifically said, Rob, look,
this is better than that episode of V when the woman opens her jaws and eats a gerbil.
I even warned you. I was like, look, this, and I know this rubs you the wrong way. This has both persons of color in it and a strong female lead. And
you know me, I'm a huge sexist and racist. This is a big time. And this is the reason why I hate the show.
Yeah,
no, that's not why I hate the show. If anything, that's probably the only thing good it's got going for it.
Right.
It's just like that's funny. Joseph uses this as a promo clip for our episode to show the episode why it's done. Joseph, why are you using a clip of me telling me that everyone that I'm a huge racist?
No, you just said like, and I think this is like a perfectly legitimate. You said you found it like slow moving and a little boring or whatever, right? Is that the?
It's just boring, dude. That's why I tweeted this thing. I said, if one of the shows supposed to be so woke, why would I keep falling asleep?
Yeah,
I fell asleep so many times watching this show.
Yeah,
like I just started going to snooze town. I mean, I might have been tired, but I mean, then the next day I did it and I still fell asleep. Dude, it was a project to watch this show. Now I do like there is a cliffhanger at the end of the second episode. I'm trying to remember what it was. What was how did it end? The second episode.
Was it
First episode ended with the guy like in the fire.
Yeah, that was the guy that basically crashed into Earth.
Yeah, that's the first episode. The second
Right.
episode. What was the big cliffhanger in that?
Well,
Okay, so they're kind of got like a little bit of a golem thing going. There's this like mother and son,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he discovered like this sword handle with like just a little piece of the sword, and I'm assuming that's the bad guy. He uncovered the like bad like Sauron's or like whatever. What's the other wizard? There's like another wizard,
Jeez,
like
yeah.
evil Sauron. It's like his
It is
dad or
Sauron's
something.
boss. I forget the guy's name. It's
Gargamel?
like Mordoth or something like Gargamel. It's like
Yeah.
Mordoth or something like that. I forget the guy's name.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm assuming they're doing this whole thing where this kid finds like, and I love this kid too. He's got like the gross like preteen mustache thing
He
going.
just looks like a dick.
Like, look at me. I'm like I got the yeah. I just think those are funny. Clearly there's something up with this thing, and
Yep.
I'm wondering if it's gonna corrupt him or something.
It
They do
seems
fight an
it.
orc.
Yeah.
What the hell is an orc? I
It
always like
is.
try to figure what an orc is. Like you have goblins, you
Well,
have like zombies, you have trolls, you have elves. What the fuck is an orc?
I
Then
think
there's ogres. Then there's
I think an orc and a goblin are the same thing.
they're
Um,
not because
no,
they even showed you the Hobbit movie, the first Hobbit movie,
yeah.
which had the first part was heavily influenced by Guillermo del Toro because he was supposed to make the series and like he ended up leaving it. And I guess a lot of this influence was more in that first movie with the Goblin King with the big nutsack chin he had.
They said in the books that in the Hobbit they called them goblins because the Hobbit was a children's book and then goblin is kind of a childish term. But when Lord of the Rings came out, he just started calling them orcs, and that was supposed to be the same thing as a goblin, but the more adult name for him.
More
So,
mature,
yes.
Like
yeah, I look.
It's to bed early tonight because we're gonna be watching some fucking orcs.
I saw a TikTok video from some like Tolkien scholar where he talked about the difference between
Tolkien scholar
goblins and look. There's a guy I follow him on Facebook.
Did he speak Klingon too?
The Tolkien professor, and the dude like fucking he every day he cranks out a 3-hour video.
To pay this guy student loans.
This guy.
This guy who majored in Tolkien, he went to college. I have to pay his loan.
Minored in hobbitology. He was talking about the difference between goblins and orcs, and there's like a third one, like Urks or something.
Orcs are sexier. Yeah, like he breaks it down by like.
Anyway,
goblins are gross.
I look, I love this show. I really do. And I guess if I did have a complaint, I agree with you that the pacing is a little wonky.
It's okay. I hope my issue with I just don't find a lot of the characters interesting.
Yeah, I do.
Like what's her name?
Galadriel. Yeah.
She's playing like a younger version of basically Cate Blanchett's character.
Yep.
And I never some asshole was like, she's not hot enough. And I'm like, oh come on.
This
like
girl's super hot. Yeah.
But the thing though is, yeah, and that's how Joseph likes it. He's like, yes, this fits the card. No. Oh, somebody was complaining that the dwarf's wife didn't have a beard. And I was like, oh God, shut the fuck up. And if she did have a beard, some asshole would complain about that. Oh, do they go by they them? Like,
well, yeah. I mean,
my problem with her is I just find the actress boring. Like Cate Blanchett is incredibly interesting looking. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I'm not saying this woman's not pretty or anything like that. I just don't find her compelling. I think the problem is I don't find any of these characters right now. I like the dwarf scene with the elf because
that's great.
That was probably like second episode 2 is definitely a better episode. The pacing was better in an episode. There was more interesting. I think as more characters come in, they'll be more interesting. But I just don't find a lot of the characters compelling yet. Maybe 3, like I said, 2 is definitely better than 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think the expectation. See, the thing is, I had no expectations for the Game of Thrones show at all.
Right.
I still don't think it's like, it's not there yet, but I am interested. I want to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
I am interested in watching this next episode because I want it to be better. There's only 8
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
I hope they pick up the pace. I hope there's like, I don't know where it's going. What they have like 5 seasons planned.
They were talking about multiple seasons. I don't know if it's 5 in particular, but I've heard
it was
them talk.
5. Well, regardless, I just think like,
where did the $1 billion go? That's what I want to know. Like, the show.
I mean, the show looks great.
But $1 billion.
The money's there. You see, I think that's an exaggeration, but a lot of money, more than you would ever think for any show. Like those Marvel shows are fucking expensive. Like I'm trying to think, like WandaVision. I don't know what She-Hulk cost, but WandaVision cost like $250 million. They basically, it was like the same price as one movie.
Well, the woman who plays Gladriel, she reminds me of. Do you remember that show Fringe?
I never watched that.
That was a great show.
She reminds me of the woman from. She looks like a younger version of what's her face from Ozark.
Oh, yeah,
a little bit.
Well,
I just don't, like I said, Kate Blanchett was like an incredibly interesting looking person. She's only in the movie for like a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they put her back in The Hobbit. She just has that great scene where she's like, I will be the best queen ever if you give me that ring. And she goes nuts. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what's his face supposedly got ghosted making this show? Peter Jackson.
Yeah, I heard that.
He said that he was willing to like work with them or something. And they're like, nah. But they're still like taking like the aesthetic quality of it.
Oh,
but
yeah, for sure.
Nothing, I just think like, people were talking about like the music's like not as good. I don't know. I mean, the music in the original Lord of the Rings movie is really good.
It is, yeah.
I just think, again, my issue with this series is that like the whole like prequel to Lord of the Rings. I would like it to just be a show that takes place in this world. And that like, yeah, maybe they're setting it up. Maybe there's like a red herring where they're setting up and you're thinking that the villain's Sauron, but in reality, you're never going to see Sauron in the show.
Yeah.
Or the other rumor going, so there's a couple of rumors like, okay, who's this wizard? And supposedly like what, in like the Tolkien universe, these wizards, like they're weird beings. Like they can basically get shot into the planet by like whatever higher being.
Yeah, they're essentially like angels.
They're already like an old man. Like they're not really like, they're not like, oh, when no,
they're not human.
Dumbledore? No, what's his Dumbledore?
Gandalf.
Wrong franchise. Sorry,
they're not human. They're like angels or something, or demigods.
That's why like when he becomes like Gandalf the White, like he had some memories of being Gandalf the Grey, but like he was basically a new being.
Yeah,
kind of like She-Hulk.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Gandalf the White was all about getting laid.
Well, I don't know.
So like the rumor, the natural thing would be to think that, okay, this guy's Gandalf, and that would explain why he has these affections for hobbits. Because he's kind of like, when he's introduced to the world, that's who he sees. Then there was is he Tom Bombadil or
Tom
Bombadil? The other rumor is like, is he those 2 other wizards that supposedly there's 5 wizards? I saw this from TikTok. Maybe we both saw the same professor of Tolkien history.
Tolkien professor.
Yeah.
Did he was in his video? Could you see a brand new Tesla in the driveway from his $10,000 check from Joe Biden? Because like,
yeah. My money.
He now has a ring light that he's using. He's like,
I'm learning. I went to college with a Tolkien history. And I'm passing the bill on to Joe the plumber.
I'm shooting this with my brand new iPhone that I got courtesy of you, John Q. Taxpayer.
Yeah, that's right. You, salt of the earth, while I, the college elitist, who's And also a professor told me
Right. Now it's time for second breakfast.
because I could afford that. Joe Brandon gave me.
That would be a great TikTok account, like just like full on, never give it up. Just be like, I'm studying lesbian dance theory, and now that I've gotten my check from
well,
Joe,
you ate that HVAC technician struggle.
You're doing your video and like you're interrupted by the Uber Eats guy bringing you food. So
you don't. I'm not tipping you. You were 5 minutes late.
right.
Back to my lesbian dancery / token history.
Oh man,
that's funny. I don't know how that would go. Because hopefully people wouldn't say it's a parody. Yeah, it was like whatever the dangerous jobs asshole that fake.
Yeah, Mike Rowe.
Yeah, fuck that guy. So so the rumor is that supposedly there's like these 5 wizards. 2 of them we never met, and they were only like mentioned a little bit. I think like one was like a water wizard. I don't know, like they were on like East or some shit. They just Tolkien just never got around to writing them.
Yeah,
they're around. Let someone else handle the ball on that one. And the other rumor is that this is Sauron.
I've heard that. Yeah, that would be like a classic twist. I mean, that would make sense. Like, I mean,
how he turned into a fire eyeball.
Right. Like, this is basically like, oh, we get to see Anakin turn into Darth Vader. Like, but
yeah, I saw how that turned out.
But in this show, Sauron was already a well-known bad guy.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm confused about all this. So it's okay. So in the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movie, they show you the past with the big battle where they defeat the physical form of Sauron.
Right.
They defeat him. They get the ring. They're going to destroy it. That's why the elves got like pissed at man.
Yep.
Because they figured man was easily corrupted because that one king refused to destroy the ring. And then he became corrupted, and then the ring was stolen and ended up at different hands. And then for like 500 years, and
it was just lost, right?
It was no Gollum had it for like
500 years. But it was lost to the world.
It was considered lost because some little ghoul was just like precious
sitting in a dark cave. Yeah,
they should just let him keep it.
Yeah,
Bilbo's. It's all Bilbo's fault.
It really is.
Bilbo did not fucking take that ring from Gollum. Sauron would never come back.
Gollum wasn't doing dick with that ring. He was just Gollum was like he was like the thin line between the world and the apocalypse. I mean, like
the thin Gollum line. We have a thin Gollum line, and that's why it's important. It's like a
back the Gollum.
But the middle bar is just Gollum peeking in, like, hey, precious.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the funny thing. He was just like this little ghoul that was just like fucked up hobbit.
Yeah,
I just found it funny that he was a hobbit, actually, which makes sense to height. But yeah, he had the ring for like 500 years. He was the best guard anyone could have had because he was already corrupted, but he had like no real ambition.
He had no ambition.
He had no ambitions. He was just like
cave pond.
Fish. I sit in the cave. I talk to myself.
And
I have my ring that I just sit and look at all day.
Yeah.
And he was just like a collector, and it was the best security system ever.
It really was.
Fucking Bilbo comes along and like tricks Gollum, poor guy, and he like because of that he fucks everything up, right? And like Sauron starts slowly coming back, and like
Sauron had, no, you're right. Yeah, after that,
right? Isn't that like all tied into like the ring going into like Bilbo's hand?
Because the ring becomes like people start using the ring, which draws like evil around it. So. Yeah.
Bilbo then had it for like 60 years.
A long time.
The Hobbit's like 60 years before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. There's some cool
that's why I hated that.
There's some
in the
cool,
end of like go ahead, what?
No, there's some cool details like in the books where it's like a lot of people suspected there's something fucked up about Bilbo, but they never, no one ever would have guessed that he had a ring.
I love that. My favorite part of the Lord of the Rings movies when they meet up Bilbo's with like the elves. It's like after Frodo gets
Yeah, yeah.
hurt. And he sees Bilbo, and Bilbo's starting to get like older looking because he doesn't have the ring was keeping him young actually,
Right.
which was kind of fun. Which is weird. Like Gollum gets corrupted, but Bilbo doesn't look. He wasn't really wearing it. I guess he was just storing it or
He
something.
only
But
busted it out every now and then.
yeah, to
Yeah.
like disappear. But like I always liked in the Ralph and Basque or whatever that was called, those cartoons.
Mm.
He would put on the ring and vanish and like like sneak around because
Yeah,
he'd get
yeah.
invisible with it. But like in the movies, they made it like so much worse. Like you become invisible, but like all these like demons should
Yeah.
like you're like in this other room, they're like trying to grab you. Um the part when he sees Frodo with the ring and he goes, ah! And like his
Yo, that
face
was
looks like
terrifying.
Gollum
Yeah.
for a second. See, that's the kind of shit that Peter Jackson was good at.
Yeah.
I don't see that in this series. There's no, it's just kind of, that's why I said, like, when I saw the previews of it, it just looks kind of soulless. Like, there's like, like they were working with those three books. There was a lot
Yep.
to work with.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson was very passionate about it. The people behind it, they worked on it for years. I'm glad they worked on all three movies
Yep.
at once.
Consecutively. Yeah.
Genius, best move. That's why I said that new Dune movie. One of the reasons I fucking hate it is because it's like
Yeah.
it was half a movie and he didn't make the second part. Dumb.
Yeah. That was
Uh,
ridiculous.
that's just stupid. But and that's one book.
Right.
But this was genius. They made sure to knock all three out. So there's this
Dune's not even that long
consistency
of a
that
book.
runs through all three. What?
Dune isn't even that long of a book.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it's because they fucking have to split every. I don't know. Whatever. Um, there's the consistency throughout all three movies. Like the effects get a little better because the story gets bigger and
Mm.
it technology gets better. And those early those movies came out in 2001, 2, and
Yeah.
3. Well, I don't know. Like, I don't into this, but I don't see like the passion behind it. I don't know
Eh,
yet.
we'll see.
I'll judge it when it's completely done. I am gonna watch it. I am a fan of this stuff. I mean, you were talking about it. I don't
Mm.
hate it. I just think like there's something missing about this show. Now, according to you wrote me and you were very angry about the fact that this was more of a matriarchal show, and you
Yes.
started talking
Oh,
about this is when I thought I was talking to Matt
infuriating.
Walsh, your evil persona, uh, your alter ego, Matt Walsh, when you worked for the Daily Wire
Yep.
and put out horrendous uh, content about trans people.
God.
Um, there's arguments like there's no black hobbits. You know what? Here's an argument I have for you. There's no such thing as a hobbit.
Yeah. It's...
There's no black elves. Guess what? I gotta tell you something else. There's no elves.
There's no elves, period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a make believe world, and if we want to have different people of color be in it, because it's the year 2022, and we like having a little bit of representation in some of these things.
Yeah.
I tell you this, there is a weird racism in Lord of the Rings, like especially seen in the third movie the most. That movie came out at a weird time because it was like shortly after the Iraq War started, which was a cruel war started by the Bush administration where they invaded Iraq, trying to lie and say it was about freedom or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just bombing brown people so that Bush could get another term. And that movie came out, and in the last movie, you get to see like a lot of like Sauron's disciples from all the different lands that come in. And you see like different like ethnicities, like not put in a good light. Like there was clearly the people of Mordor. They looked like Arabian. The people riding the elephants looked like something from like the East.
Yeah,
like
sure.
It has some weird racial components in it. The third movie I felt it the most was because like even like when the Eagles showed up, I was like, what is this? It's like Top Gun all of a sudden. Like, I don't know. Like the Eagles, now that's America. I don't know. There was some weirdness behind this, especially because of the time it came out. It came out in the end of 2003, a couple months into the war, or like almost a year into the war. And I wonder if, like, a lot of racists love Lord of the Rings because they see it as like, the good people are they're all white and
Yeah,
like, and I could see that. I could see like the huge racial component. So they think like this is like a betrayal. Like, how dare they have like a black elf or a hobbit that's black or whatever? And it's like, one, who gives a shit? But I could see how where those racist fucks are like. I mean, they're gonna complain about everything anyway.
yeah,
These guys suck. I mean, they're gonna fucking bitch about like literally anything,
right. It's
So
just
that doesn't shock me.
with this, of there's a lot of targets for them. It does
Well, there
have.
is like a weird history in like Lord of the Rings that mirrors some of like human history.
Yeah.
And like, what is it like? Middle Earth is like what, Europe or something?
Well, they basically a lot of, and Tolkien himself always denied it, but Tolkien fought in World War I, and a lot of people
Yeah.
say this is
Well,
basically
supposedly he hated the Nazis.
yeah, but he a lot of people think that Middle Earth is like England, and
Yeah.
they would be, and like the Sauron and the orcs and whatnot are like the Germans, the Eastern Europeans or
But I
whatnot.
thought also Sauron is like represents like the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah,
and also like Sauron, like because you see all the different all the different races from different land come in, and they are like of browner descent,
yeah,
and like they're all kind of and like Sauron's like, hey, you know what? These guys have kept you down. I'm fine with you. Work with me.
yeah.
I thought that was like the whole angle of Sauron. That's why he was like a detrimental threat to these
I
the
don't know.
the people of Middle Earth or whatever, the
That
human.
could. It's been a long time since I read the books. I know that, like, I read this one big paper where they talked about, that scene, I forget which movie it's in or which book it's in, but where they're going through a marsh or a bog and all the dead soldiers are still there. Do you know that
Yeah,
one? They say that it was based on a famous battle that Tolkien fought in, where there's just like bodies everywhere. And they said that like anybody who like knew anything about that particular battle couldn't help but read that scene and think, oh, this is what Tolkien's talking about. um
they made a movie about him a couple years
oh,
ago.
okay.
I forgot the actor who played him. I think he played the Beast in those newer movies.
Oh,
I forgot the he's like a British actor.
yeah,
It's like one of those like kid act like he was a kid actor, well, obviously,
yeah.
and he became a man actor, but I guess he played him. I don't know if the movie's any good or not.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying there's like some weird, it's like, okay, first of all, let's just get this out of the way. This book was made
It's like 100 years
a
old.
long
Yeah.
fucking time ago by a man who fought in World War One.
Yeah.
Guess
It's like,
what? It's the year 2022. Do you know what World War One is? Over 100 years ago.
yeah.
When did it end? Did it even go into the 20s or was it like in the teens? World War
uh
One.
I think it went into
What
the.
did it like end in night? What did it end like 21? Like,
Jeez, that sounds about right. Let me
I think
see.
my grandfather was born the year like maybe right before World War One started in
Well,
1914.
this says it began in 1914 and ended in 1918.
Okay, so like war was over 100 years ago.
Yeah,
It was
right.
written by this man who has been dead for like what, 70 years? I mean, like,
Yeah,
when did these books come out? In the 50s,
yeah. They
60s?
were. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, they came out a long time ago. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, it wouldn't surprise me, like, if Tolkien was
1954 came out.
good in a
Originally
lot of
published.
ways and not good in some other ways. I mean,
Listen, regardless, it's like people who are complaining. Like, if you're, I'll say this, like, these criticisms I have on the show. Like I said, my issue with it is that I just don't, I'm not feeling it yet.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
don't like, I did like the scene with the dwarf and the elf and the interactions with the wife. I like that scene's
yep.
best.
That's a good
I
one.
do find the thing with the hobbits interesting. Uh, girl Frodo and girl Samwise.
I don't. That's my least favorite storyline.
I find it
Um,
interesting with the hobbits. Now the joke is like they're not like supposed to. They're supposed to be like a different tribe of hobbits or
yeah,
something.
there's
I
supposed to be
just
like
thought maybe like
three.
is this is this more like their early? They don't have like the Shire yet.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
more
these
like
are migratory beings. You know,
what?
they're migratory. This group. You know, that's their whole
They're not
shtick
the same
is
ones that we see in like
they
because
may have.
remember they have all these tents and they pop up and all of a sudden they have a little village like when they're waiting for those
Yeah,
guys weird antlers to pass. That was a cool looking scene. Those
that
guys are
was.
freaking huge.
That seemed
And,
like a Terry Gilliam scene or something. You know,
right. Yeah. I
it's
was like,
really
what the hell's going on here? I was like waiting for like Robin Williams to come out, the
yeah.
Fisher King or some shit.
Um, yeah,
Um,
it was good. I think this is supposed to be a different branch of the Hobbit family.
and
Like,
then of course people were pissed. Like, well, where'd you play Hobbits? But then and I just find it funny when people have to like pull out the literature and be like, well, actually, these hobbits are described as brown or whatever. And I'm like, you know what?
yeah, don't.
Fuck
There's
it,
no
who
need.
cares? You don't have to explain yourself. You know what? It's the year 2022. Get the fuck
Yeah,
over it. It's
honestly, if you wanted
deal
to
with
have
it.
some of the hobbits played by like, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah,
Like,
whatever.
I'm sorry, you turned into your racist grandfather.
If you
You know,
engage,
like all these fucking people who are like our age or younger that are bitching about this. It's like, dude, like I said, I grew up in like the 80s and like 90s, and I thought like, we would be actually progressing and like we would see a better world. And then you get these like dipshits who like they all turned into the racist fucking Ronald
yeah,
Reagan voting grandparents.
you can't engage with them because you just legitimize their feelings. You know, you
But
just
that's what I just think is fun. I don't care. If I don't do it, someone else is gonna do it. I'm not the my job is not to make them feel comfortable. Like they don't give a
true.
fuck how I feel. But the point I'm saying though is I just think it's funny that they all turned into their racist
Yeah,
grandfather. They
for
might use
sure.
different words like woke or whatever, but it's the same shit.
It is. It's all
So
the
like
same.
if that's the thing that bothers you about the show is that well then one fucking don't watch it because
Yeah,
that
it's
I mean
easy.
don't watch anything. Don't watch anything. Go watch your old copies of
Read a
like
book.
original Star Wars trilogy. Go watch like or go back and watch some of the old stuff that you claim wasn't woke and maybe spend a minute to think about it and realize like holy shit, like the hero in Aliens is a woman.
Right. Yeah.
She's a fucking badass. Like, would that fit in with the things you have issues with today? Like, I don't know. That's not a reason. I don't think that does not, okay. Those people hating the show because of that does not make this show good, though. I think this
Oh yeah. No,
show,
I agree. I agree.
it needs to prove itself. I just think, to me, when I watch this show, I just think that this is a weird, like, um, I get all my billionaires messed up. Jeff
Jeff
Bezos.
Bezos. Yep.
Jeff Bezos gets huge tax cuts so he can make us Lord of the Rings. So this show is basically just our taxes that didn't go to like public education or go to fixing
Yeah.
streets, like environment or anything
Right.
else that could help us society. So if this show is not good, then this is a failure of our tax system. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
if this
No, I
show is
follow.
good, then I'll be like, listen, I know the roads aren't great, but man, that Lord of the Rings is really good. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
we gotta, remember that episode 6 when
Right.
Bumbleding fought the Bimblebop and Bosa and Gondor the
Yeah.
Gray, Gondor the Blue showed
Right.
up. That was sick.
Well,
Dad, we just hit a pothole and our car broke. You know, you just
they
have to sacrifice
they
some things,
released 80 catalytic converter thieves from the prison because of overcrowding. Well,
But
I
but
I'm yeah, I think it's worth revisiting. We'll continue to watch the show and revisit it. Uh
I just don't. I mean, could they make that show any woker?
yeah, they could, I suppose.
I mean, I kind of hope they do.
It'll be
I
awesome.
would get
Yeah.
more enjoyment watching those people lose their mind
Yeah.
over that than I would. Like, I don't even care about like the show at that point. I'd just be like,
Yeah.
yes, it's like the sicko jury. the guy in the window, like that sicko
Yeah,
drawing,
right.
the thing from the Onion that says sickos on the shirt. Like, yes, like just watch these people just lose their mind over a TV show.
Imaginary
You know
hobbits.
what I love? Here's the thing I'll say about this before we move
Hmm.
on. The thing that's great about this show, though, is, and I say this to anyone that's bothered by this show
Yeah.
or anything like that, you say this about the same thing with like Star Wars. You know what? You don't have to like this stuff. If it bothers you that much, go back and watch your special edition
Yeah.
DVDs of Lord of the Rings or the Ralph Baskin cartoon or
Yeah.
whatever,
Perfect.
or the weird song that Leonard Nimoy did about Bilbo.
Yeah. Bilbo
See
Baggins.
that?
Yeah,
Did you ever
that's
see that
crazy.
video?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Bilbo
Yeah. With all
Baggins,
those kind of like
greatest
trippy
little
go-go
hobbit in the
dancers.
world.
Yeah.
Dude, that song, I gotta watch that. That is amazing. That's like, dude, all the acid was taken during
Oh
that. They're
yeah.
like, I got a great idea. Hold on. I just snorted a whole bag of coke. I got a great idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy sing about we're to get like six disc like what were the girls like go-go
They're like
dancers.
go-go dancers, like
Yeah, yeah,
psycho go-go
yeah.
dancers.
Literally 60s go-go dancers, late 60s. Oh yeah, okay, this sounds good already. Yeah. And we'll get Leonard Nimoy, the guy from the Star Treks.
Yeah. With a big old thick cable knit turtleneck and a brown
Yeah.
blazer.
You know what I always loved about Leonard Nimoy after like
Oh,
Star Trek is I just always assumed he had those ears.
yeah.
The Spock ears. I just
Right.
figured,
That was him.
okay, last thing before we move on
Yeah.
to the other Lord of the Rings. I think this would be one of the more interesting things is the whole thing about how the elves like literally live forever or something like
Yeah, yeah.
that. They're like immortal, right?
They have to choose to die.
Well, because they showed them young in the beginning.
Yeah,
I guess they can get killed because we know they get killed in battle.
I I thought, and I could be wrong here, that they were essentially immortal. They grew, they could be
Yeah,
young
they
and then
still
grow old.
grew. Right. I'm
But
like,
then at the end, they like, and I could be wrong on this, but I thought that they had to choose to sail to the west. That's how they.
which is the end of the Lord of the Rings movie
Yes.
when like Frodo joins them, and it's kind of
Hmm.
like a weird thing, like they're basically going to heaven or something.
Yeah, I think that's it, but I also think that that's like in this world, that's like they're becoming extinct. I think that like eventually, like if you imagine, I don't know if the Hobbit and all that, if it's that's supposed to be Earth, but let's imagine it is Earth. That eventually all these creatures that are popular, they're all going to sail west, and all that's going to be left is man. You know what I mean? Because there won't
Right.
be any more
What is
hobbits or
West?
elves. Well, that west, that's just death. Like that's a old. Remember that movie, Dead Man, starring Johnny Depp and Neil Young and Iggy Pop, Jim
I don't think I've
Jarmusch.
seen that. I know what you're talking about. I never saw it.
Anyway, his whole thing is he's traveling west, and that's him dying. And like that's the journey west. The sun sets in the west. It's supposed to be like a
Oh,
metaphor for dying.
well, yeah, because like in the end of Lord of the Rings, like Frodo is like telling him like he got permanently injured
Yeah,
from he got stabbed and like he was affected by magic too much. And oh wait, hold on. Someone brought up a good point and said like, how come like I guess the ring that had to literally just go like like how come Samwise when he's carrying Frodo with the ring,
yeah,
the ring did not affect Samwise?
yeah. I don't know. That's a good question.
I guess like do you literally have to wear it? Because I think it was like around his neck or something, and it wasn't around.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
know.
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't think too much about it. Just enjoy. It's like that scene in Austin Powers 2, and they're talking about time travel, and the guy goes, "You know what? Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
He looks at the audience and he says, "Just enjoy yourself."
Right.
That's it. All right.
uh,
Well, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
yeah.
I look forward to all the outrage over
Oh, me too.
pop culture media.
Me too.
They're great. Jeff Bezos is like, I got a great idea. I'm gonna
Right.
make this show. that people love, and I'm gonna do shit to it.
I'm gonna
So
make it
that
super
people,
woke.
I'm gonna put elements in there that are gonna drive people nuts, and people are gonna either fight over it or defend it. And I'm gonna laugh back, collect my tax cuts, and I'm just gonna
Next
I'm gonna
season,
influence politicians and put in all kinds of bad legislation that
ne-
favors me.
next season, hobbits are gonna have cars.
And they speak Spanish. That would like people lose their minds.
Whole
Like,
thing's subtitled. Whole thing's
but not in English.
in Arabic.
Chinese. Yeah, Arabic or Chinese. Jeff Bezos
Right.
just came back laughing. That
All right. So our first real
rocket.
news of the day topic is that the Queen died today.
Who?
The Queen.
And we still talking about Lord of the Rings?
No, in real life, switching gears.
Wait, we have queens in real life?
Yeah, the Queen Elizabeth II died in Scotland, and now England has a king, King Charles III.
Wait, those things exist in real life?
Mm-hmm.
We have
Still
kings
do.
and queens. I
Oh,
thought that was
yeah.
like some Middle Earth shit. Game of
No,
Thrones? No?
absolutely. They are a constitutional monarchy. The king and queen perform like specific functions in the government. It's mostly symbolic, but not entirely. And she died.
Did she ride a dragon?
No.
Ride a corgi?
Ride a Welsh corgi.
Yeah,
yes.
I love corgis. They always look happy. They're like weird, stunted border collies.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Like, I have an idea. Let's take a border collie,
I looked
topple off the top of its feet, make them all look like Hank Hill's dad.
I don't know. Cotton. Yeah, I don't know if this is true, but I saw a graphic on Twitter today, and it looked official. It was like from some British source, and it was a chart of all the corgis the Queen has owned. I'm not making that. This seems like an elaborate. So like sometimes I'll do this.
I know she owns corgis because I saw the movie Minions, the first Minions movie, and she had corgis in it.
Well, here's the thing. This had a family tree of all the corgis. I guess the Queen got her first corgi when she was 18, and she still has a corgi from that actual lineage. But this family tree was all fucked up. This family tree was all fucked up, and there were some where it was like there were dorgies because like one of the corgis had banged a dachshund. And
I mean, how much different would it look?
And they had dorgies, and they all had these like fucking fucked up names. And then the last part of the family tree is like there's one corgi that's still like technically descended from the original corgi the Queen got when she was 18. That was like fucking 70 years ago. But it wasn't a clean line. So it was like it was like
kind of like a representation of the British monarchy.
It was super inside baseball and then anyway, someone said that they dug up a quote by the Queen that said she doesn't want her corgis to outlive her. And so they were saying that like they're gonna bury the corgi with her or something.
Did you hear that the husband who died like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, Philip or something, was it?
Yeah, I remember like someone posted a picture. I don't know if it was The Onion or Hard Times, where it had like a funny like the Queen has to like remarry now.
Right.
Like, she was just like, this is like a really gross picture of her, like really old looking, like she's she remarried now.
Remarried the situation from Jersey Shore. Like,
yeah, that's current reference, Joseph.
Well, I'll tell you about as current as the Queen. It's weird. Like I don't care about this terribly. I mean, I have friends online that like, that are super
I've never understood the fascination that Americans have for the British monarchy. That makes no sense to me.
I get it.
It's like what, fairy tales? Like they're the closest thing to like what a Disney movie is.
It's just it's like for fucking novelty. Like, oh, you're a princess. Like, and then there's all the pageantry and like if you're into history, You can look at the historical angle of it. If you're into scandal and gossip, there's certainly that element of it. There's a lot of different ways you can get into the monarchy. It's not my thing, but like I get it. I
I
get why
just don't
people.
understand the obsession that Americans have just because of the whole like Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Like who gives a shit about it? And they're not even like supposedly like I think they downplay how much effect they have on British politics.
Mm.
I think they have more than people think. Maybe like in the parliamentarian, they don't, but like
Yeah.
maybe international, they have more influence than people
Oh
think.
yeah. I think they serve as like an odd diplomatic
No, I mean like
corps.
they dictate things more than I think people think. I'm not saying like they have,
Mm. Could be.
but like I think they have more like the Queen had more power than people think, or they try to downplay it.
I could see that.
Like, because well, okay, so here's a funny thing. So Philip died a couple years ago.
Yep.
Supposedly his body has been stored in like a freezer for the
Oh
past
jeez.
couple years because he could not be buried until she was buried.
All right.
Then there's these other weird rumors of like people like she's been dead for 6 months, and I'm like, why would like
Yeah. Of what possible use could doing this?
September 8th represents something where the planets align and
Oh yeah.
Dumbledore and Gandalf the Grey show up and
Q
cast
was
the
the
spell of
QAnon people were all into it today, talking about like the different numbers and times and dates, and it
well, there's
doesn't
like a
take much to
rumor
get
that
them going.
she hasn't been seen in a long time, and it's probably because she's 96 and she was probably like bedridden and old as
Yeah,
fuck.
they had
But
photographs of
supposedly,
her
like they had
swearing
a
in that
parade,
prime.
and
Well, they
she
had
was
photographs of her swearing in that prime minister like 2 weeks ago. She's been
the new
around.
one, the one
Yeah,
that like makes you wish Boris Johnson remains.
yeah,
Supposedly, this woman's like a nut. She's like a Margaret Thatcher type.
yeah. I'd rather get that old mayor from Toronto that was on coke all the time. Just make
Rob
him.
Ford,
Yeah,
Chris Farley as a cartoon Chris Farley.
basically, yeah.
So everyone always laughed about that Rob Ford guy, but supposedly, I guess his brother was like pretty much the same without the crack or something. I
Yeah.
think Ford's dead.
Mm.
They're
Yeah.
like incredibly right wing.
Oh
So
yeah, they're terrible people.
yeah, but I just don't understand. I just never understood the fascination. I think over the years too, like the right wing has been very weird with the monarchy, where they get super defensive of them, and I find it really odd. I wonder if it's like because they want like Trump to be a king. Well, I wonder also, is it just literally because there was some like negative response because Prince Harry married Meghan Markle,
Yeah.
right, who is like half black,
Look
right?
who's yeah, look who's all in with the royal lore and
Well,
gossip.
I'm not saying I don't know everything about them. I know that in Carnaby, and no, I know
Well,
enough. I know enough
yeah,
to
yeah.
talk about it.
It's
I
pop
don't
culture. I mean, it's
understand that. Like, I know a lot about Trump. I don't like him. I'm
true.
not going to vote for him. I don't care for the monarchy. I know enough about it
I
because
think
I hear people talking about it, and I don't even know the full details in the Meghan Markle thing. All I know is supposedly some racist shit was said, like not like outright racist shit, but kind of like old timey
yeah,
racist, like oh, what you're going to marry a pasty, chalky white
yeah.
person?
I
Like
think
it's
it was a little of both. From what I understand, the queen herself was like pretty modern in her views and like wanted to, atone for whatever. Um, I don't know. I know that
but
I
the right wing got super
yeah.
because
My
one they
theory
go ahead.
my theory is that the right wing defends the monarchy mostly because they get pissed off when people bitch about colonialism. That's
Mm,
it in a nutshell. And I think that if you look at the colonial empires, there's only like four of them. It was like the Dutch, the English, the Portuguese, and the Spanish. And the English are the most like Americans, I suppose. And so when people bitch about colonialism, then these right wing chuds want to reflexively uh, defend the monarchy, you know. And it's like, it's got like a Confederate allure to it, like colonial England had the right idea when they were colonizing these savage nations. They want to defend that. They're not defending like the modern queen
well, I think
necessarily.
they were defending it because they with the whole culture war aspect with Meghan
Yeah,
Markle and Harry and like they're like Hollywood liberals and
Yeah.
like no, it's that whole bullshit. They just want to like jump on it. But I feel like they've gotten like super defensive of the monarchy the past couple of years, all because of that
Oh, I
shit.
was I was looking on Twitter tonight, and there's a ton of chuds just like the Queen. We've lost such a great one, and I
And
don't.
there's
I
like
mean,
this whole, yeah, like you said, it's definitely like the defense of colonialism, definitely some white supremacy shit thrown in
yeah,
there. Like called for older times. Like what the fuck? You these people want feudalism. That's what they
yeah,
want. They
yeah.
want
Well,
feudalism
yeah.
back. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Um,
It's like we basically have been like slowly evolving away from feudalism. Kind of not at the same time.
yeah,
I mean, that's really what all the argument of labor is about. That's why, like,
a lot of it,
they hate that Biden put in a you know, here's a discount on your student loan.
right?
That'll be better. Yeah, that goes against feudalism, like having a permanent labor force that has to constantly sweat, not get a break because they have to pay a student loan off, a predatory student loan off. They have to do this. It bothers them. All right, so I tweeted this earlier today, and some weirdo so I wrote, why are Americans so obsessed with British monarchy?
Mhm.
And I got like 8 likes.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't anything like. Hold on, somebody's 1 second.
Hmm.
I'll tell you that in a second.
Yeah.
Uh, I got bills to pay, so somebody's contacting me. I am a working artist, so if anyone's
There
listening,
you go. Yeah.
follow me on Instagram, Rob Israel Art. I don't have Rob Israel anymore because the woke scolds at Instagram took me down.
Right.
Well, yeah, no, it's the opposite. uh, and you can follow me on Twitter, Rob Israel, and you can follow me on TikTok, Rob Israel Art. Hold on.
Well,
Okay. So this guy, I wrote like this thing, just like why are Americans so obsessed why are Americans so obsessed with the British monarchy? I've
mhm.
always wondered that my whole life, just because I've learned about the Revolutionary
Yeah.
War. Maybe I didn't learn like 100% about it, but I was learning about it
Enough.
because
Yeah.
we didn't want to be a monarchy anymore. We wanted democracy, or as the right would say, a republic, because they don't want democracy
Mm.
either. Um, so this guy, Rory Sutherland, blue check
Oh, that's
mark,
right. Yeah.
and
He's
this
a
man,
big British account.
he looks like Bilbo.
Yeah.
If you click on him, he's like, if someone said, "What's a British person look like?"
Right.
I would show a picture of this guy, and I would say, "That guy."
Yep.
I guess, he went. It's not much weirder than being obsessed with a 235-year-old piece of paper when you think about it. And I wrote, unlike a monarchy, that piece of paper evolves.
Yeah.
And oh man, I got like all these people like, are you saying monarchies don't? No, they don't. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say like they don't cut people's heads off like they
Well,
used to.
I mean, the monarchy's evolved, but I think your
Well,
point
okay,
is
well,
like,
I wouldn't say this monarchy evolved. I would say, if anything, this monarchy devolved out of power.
well,
The only
yeah.
thing, okay, how does a monarchy evolve? How? I mean, like, what? You just hope that the new king or queen isn't a psychopath?
Well, no, they have a constitution. They can amend the constitution and stuff. I mean, the monarchy in England is a constitutional role. You know.
But what this guy, I want to know what this guy, like, the monarchy as a function. I was gonna write back, and I was like, I didn't even want to write
Yeah.
back. He wrote
Uh,
this one stupid thing and said that, like, oh, we never had a monarchy that banned the consumption of alcohol. And I wrote back, that was 100 years ago.
yeah. I think you were talking. I think he didn't understand the point you were making. Like when people get obsessed with a monarchy, they get obsessed with like the whole pop culture
Yeah,
element of it. Like these are characters in a story, and it's people will
the
watch movies
pageantry
about.
behind it,
Yeah.
the fairy tale element,
No,
like,
nobody, I mean, aside from a few like super bizarre right wingers, no one in America is obsessed with the Constitution in a similar way. Nobody sits there and watches like multiple Netflix miniseries about the Constitution.
yeah,
Nobody,
people do.
well, I'm just saying, like, it's
And they
not,
usually, unfortunately, these are like those people who like
but it's not to
ignore the.
the degree that the monarchy is. No, nobody is like, there are
But
no
how
constitutional
does a
pop culture
monarchy
figures.
evolve. Okay, so if we're if we have a constitution,
Mhm.
and I guess they have a constitution, right? Do we have like representatives, people we vote for, whatever, and they can amend the constitution? Hopefully,
Well, they can do
that
that
comes
in
up
England
there.
too.
Okay, but you're talking about they have a parliamentary system. I'm talking about a monarchy rule, which England really isn't. So I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, what year are you living in? This isn't 200 years ago. I'm just saying, how does a monarchy evolve? Like a true monarchy? Because England, like you said, it's almost like a weird delegation,
It's a
like a
constitutional monarchy, like their monarchy. Like if all the ministers of parliament got together and they passed through their parliamentary system some new rule that says the king can no longer be called a king. We're going to call him, you know, the old Duffmeister or whatever, whatever figure they.
Captain Jack.
Yeah, then they pass that, and that's the new rule. I mean, like it is a weird. I don't understand it fully, but like this modern monarchy does have a little bit of nuance to it. But I don't know. I
I
just
just
thought,
thinking like again, like on from a an actual definition of what a monarchy is and not a parliamentary system
yeah.
monarchy that where they have a prime minister that literally and a leading party like the Tories or the
Well,
Labour. What the fuck is this guy talking
the
about?
whole notion of a monarchy is like outdated anyway. I mean, it's just a bizarre system. Like
Like
the whole premise is that like God chose that family to rule, which is ridiculous. It's like,
they did that to fucking when George W. Bush was president. I remember used to
yeah.
seeing all this imagery where they would take pictures. This was like around the time after 9/11. They were trying to gear up to war and they wanted to make it like that Bush,
Well,
you couldn't question Bush. They would make sure there were photos of him with like halos behind his
yeah.
head. They did that shit all
Well,
the
the
time.
Trump people do it overtly. They're like, God chose Trump.
Yeah,
God anointed
yeah.
Trump. I mean, like it's bizarre.
Like, no,
Um,
you know what shows Trump? Fucking with math is
yeah,
what shows Trump. Fucking
gerrymandering and
Jared
Russian
fucking with
interference.
numbers is how he got in, not God. I mean, like, I don't know. This guy was a weirdo. Like I said, I just thought like his one response about banning consumption of alcohol, like that's a current.
Yeah,
Like,
so
dude, that was in the 20s. What the fuck are you talking about?
yeah. I don't know if you're gonna look if people are super into the Queen. I don't know if you're gonna get like super cogent
I'm
answers
not.
from
I
them
just like I said,
today.
all I did was put that tweet out there where I have like a
Yeah,
limited audience, and some big fish saw that and was like,
that's weird.
I'll make a I will put you on notice. And like all these, dude, I mean, this guy was like normal compared to the people
Oh yeah,
responding. Oh my God, some of these people were like so weird.
no.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead. What?
oh no, I was that the people that love the Queen really love the Queen. If they love the monarchy, they really love the monarchy. It's not people get worked up over it.
The
I guess.
direct, supposedly though, England like is really feeling the bad elements of Brexit now.
Oh yeah.
Supposedly, like they don't have power. The summer was like brutal there,
Yep.
supposedly,
Well,
all across
and
Europe.
the younger people hate it. They used to be able to search for work, in Europe. They used to be able to go to college, for
I just love
free in
that
Europe.
fucking what's that guy's name? Niall Farage, really that
Yeah.
fucking piece of shit. I saw him on like Tucker Carlson the other day, or a clip. I saw a clip of him on, and I'm like, how's this fucking guy still allowed to exist?
Man, you're the being in the European Union seemed like I, I was so jealous of people that could take advantage of that type of opportunity. Could you imagine living in England and being able to travel for virtually free and attend school and do all sorts of things in any number of like incredibly fascinating, really different countries? And
Wasn't it
now,
just a huge grift, and a bunch of rich people got just
yeah,
richer from it?
it was,
The
and
Brexit
a
thing.
lot of people got screwed and fucked. And like the England had, I don't know, it's
What
a
was the?
shame.
What did they do? They used racism, right, to get Brexit going. They
Yeah,
basically
they
said that
basically,
because we're in the union,
yep,
our country's being inundated by Muslims.
they said like we have to take a lot of these northern African refugees, and we don't by European standards, European Union rules. And they also didn't like that it was the same bullshit Trump used to bitch about with NATO. Like, we contribute too much to the European Union. We don't get our fair share. We're better off alone. And they weren't. None of them were. Like, the wealthy were, the very
Yeah.
wealthy were, but like if you're an average person, everything you like, England's a
Well, this is
relatively small
like
place.
this is like what Reagan like, and like the removal of like freak state colleges and
Yeah,
like lots of benefits and like unions. I mean, like all this is like an attack on labor in the end. It's just they used fear, xenophobia,
yeah.
and racism, just kind of like with Trump with the wall. I mean, Brexit happened not too long
It
before Trump
was
became president.
it
It was
was
like
all in
six
the
months.
same area. Yeah.
It was a literal fascist right wing coup around
Yeah.
the world.
Right.
Steve Bannon was a big part of it. Uh, I remember Boris Johnson. I was like, oh my God, this guy looks like Trump. It was like ridiculous. It
Yeah.
was basically British Trump. Um, yeah, I just like, I mean, I guess let's talk about Steve Bannon. I know we were going to talk about Trump and the DOJ, but let's talk about Steve Bannon first. Cause like
Yeah.
that was all around that same time, the Al Farage and all these like clowns.
Well,
Like, the whole Brexit, yeah, the Brexit thing's like and then like what, there's like nothing they can do about it or some bullshit.
no, I mean, like it would be it was a messy divorce to exit the European Union. They could apply to get back in, and they probably could, but it'd be a colossal pain in the ass. They'd have no bargaining power because now it's 100% clear that they need the
They needed it.
European. Yeah, it's just a shame. I mean, it was really like it's like joining the United Federation of Planets or something. I mean, like imagine like leaving the United Federation of Planets. I mean, it's just fucking stupid. And it was a bunch of idiots. They bought lies from idiots. It's like Trump telling people he's going to build the wall. Like, no, he wasn't. Everyone knew he wasn't. You think
Yeah, they just
Mexico's
went
going to?
along with it.
Yeah.
Well, was
So,
the joke was Biden did something recently when it came to like border security, and Mexico did actually pay for it.
oh, that's I don't remember that.
It
But
was like
like,
up like earlier this year. It was like really funny.
well, it's remarkable, and it was that movie we watched way back when, and we did an episode about it. What was that one with about Cambridge Analytica?
I mean, it was like I don't remember the name, but it was a Netflix documentary about
Yeah,
Cambridge Analytica, and it had a lot to do with like how Trump got into power.
but it was about Brexit too. They talked a
Yeah,
lot about Brexit. It was the same people were involved in, and you're right. It was this kind of well organized right wing worldwide coup
yeah,
of.
because you had like around the same time you had Bolsonaro and Brazil.
Yep.
Yeah, fuck, I don't even know what that guy's name in like Hungary and all these
Just
other
a
like
lot of shady shit happened around
yeah,
then.
that dude in the Philippines.
Yep, Duarte, and
Duterte.
it was all right wing grift, and they fed people a bunch of lies primarily through social media, and then
Yep.
I mean, I guess this is kind of a simplistic way of saying it, but they tricked a bunch of people. Fucking Steve Bannon was neck deep in that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Bannon getting arrested today was hilarious, and
It's great because this is New York, right? This is like
yeah,
New York State.
from what I understand, I saw a analyst talking about it this morning or this afternoon, and he was saying that the indictment was like a rock crusher. He's like, they have everything. They have basically text messages Steve Bannon texted to his friends bragging about how he committed this crime and shit. And they said that he's going on trial in New York, but Washington D.C. is also going to put him on trial for the same thing, and that they can make the sentences run consecutively, meaning
But
that
he got a
whenever
pardon from Trump, didn't he?
federal, yeah, he can never be tried in federal court, but any state where there's a person who was defrauded can put Steve Bannon on trial.
Here's a oh damn, what the hell? I fucking hate this. Hold on. I found the video clip of him walking.
Oh, that's so
I don't know
good.
if there's any is there sound? I don't know if
There
there's
is,
sound.
because he's saying, I've not yet begun to fight. This is what
Yeah.
happens when they try
But
to
like, first of all, it's like, who are you fighting for? I love that he acts like he's this like. He reminds me of like Mr. Burns. You remember Mr. Burns is given like the $1 trillion bill, and he has
yeah,
to fly it over to like Cuba or something like that, and he's going
yeah,
on about like freedom, like, and it's all about him and his enrichment.
right,
Who
yeah.
else is Steve Bannon fighting for?
Well,
Steve Bannon. This is a guy who gladly took a check from a kid who got money to
yeah,
basically this kid's stupid. His parents fucking gave him raising him horribly. It was to basically make the racist wall. And it didn't make any sense because like the amount of money you needed to make an actual wall was going to be in the billions. I think they
Right.
raised 100 million or some bullshit. So it was just
Plus,
one grift. And he gladly took it like a $20,000 check from a child.
yeah,
Like this
he's
is a
just,
terrible man.
from what I understand, he's just screwed. That like if the analysts are correct, Steve Bannon's probably going to spend the rest of his life in prison. You know,
I mean, I love, and that's great because he looks like he's gonna drop dead any minute.
yeah, he
He's
looks
got
like
like the Alex Jones disease where you're just like he's just one like chili dog away from death.
yeah.
When if someone puts in a couple extra onions, it's over. That's it.
This is what happens in the last stage of the dying regime. They will never try to help out and kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
Okay, adult Cartman.
Yeah.
I mean, like this guy's a walking, talking gin blossom. Are there people who actually like think this guy like likes this guy? Like, it's funny. I always see like people on the right love like certain people. I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about like their love of Steve Bannon.
Nah.
Like there's like a weird like mythology behind Roger Stone, and I can see why people think he's cool because he comes off like there's like a persona that he puts off.
He's like a Batman villain.
Yeah, but like there's also like this rebel aspect to him. He's able to sell that, even though he's just a disgusting ghoul. But Steve Bannon is just like a blob of gross shit.
Yeah.
Even like Trump, like even Trump at some point, it was even like, I'm not falling for this guy's shit.
Right. Yeah.
Like he fired him. I don't know. He still kept him on as like an advisor or whatever. But like this guy is a waste of fucking time. This do you remember the video too when him and the guy are bragging and he's like, "What boat are you gonna get with the money from this build a wall thing?" I mean, listen, if you gave money to him for the wall, you deserve every dime you lost.
Oh yeah, that's the best part is that he only defrauded idiots.
Yeah, he defrauded idiots who had bad intent.
Right.
I mean, like you just wanted to keep a specific type of person out of the country.
Yeah.
Like you can lie and say it had to do with like economic anxiety or whatever bullshit.
Sure.
You just wanted a certain kind of person not allowed in the country. Steve Bannon came along and said, "Yeah, we're going to help build this," which is kind of pathetic because what I would, if I, of course, I'm voting for Trump and I like Steve Bannon, I have no brain, but if I would be like, wait, what the fuck? Why do I have to donate money to you to build a wall? We elected this guy.
Yeah.
Why is he not doing it already?
He had complete control of all three branches of government. He had just come off of why didn't he do it? Why? Whatever. Anyway, Steve Bannon is well, he's bailed out, but he got arrested today. It was really funny.
Wait, so he's bailed out again, or?
Well, I think he bailed out. I don't think he's being held in custody right now.
I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if this guy never sees a day in jail. Didn't he actually go to jail? Wasn't he actually in jail?
He was.
Trump pardoned him, right?
You're thinking of Paul Manafort.
Paul Manafort actually went to jail. He had that feather jacket or something.
Yeah, the ostrich skin suit.
But didn't Steve Bannon also get a pardon from Trump?
Yeah, Steve Bannon got arrested.
Let's see. What other clowns did Trump pardon? Didn't he pardon Joe Apiro?
Yep, and Roger Stone.
Dinesh D'Souza.
Mm-hmm.
All good guys.
Yeah.
All great people. Did you see that creepy tweet? I know we moved on, but did you see that creepy tweet from Steve Miller about the Queen?
Oh yeah, he's I can't believe he's still in the public realm.
That he gets to like tweet and like act like he's a like actual like
he's legitimate. Like
yeah, Her Royal Majesty's passing is not only a tragedy for England, Britain, the UK, and Commonwealth, but also decent people everywhere. Queen Elizabeth was our last link to a lost age of magic and glory, radiating our world with light. After a life of service, she rests in God's kingdom.
Colonialism.
And this one person goes, "What the fuck are you talking about, you weird nerd?" I retweeted him and said, "Real life Gollum chiming in." Yeah. Well, colonialism, white supremacy.
I just resent that he's considered like a thinker of any sort.
Like
That like,
he should not be allowed to talk. I'm
yeah,
sorry. Like it's not about freedom of speech. Just this guy should be like, and it's like the same thing with like anyone that was in the Trump administration should be considered like a pox. The
right.
idea that Trump, and we'll move on to the next topic, Trump versus DOJ, the
Yeah.
justice coming to a Saturday morning cartoon near you. That these people can say that he is a political threat. The guy lost an election by 8 million votes.
And he lost the House and he lost the Senate.
He lost the House. He lost the Senate. He lost the House in 18. He's a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Why is no one just that's how you know the media is skewed. They want Republicans in power. They don't care who it is. They want Republicans in power. If that was a Democrat, they would make it worse than Jimmy Carter, the way they talk about
for sure.
I was watching like Majority Board or something like that. They said Jimmy Carter won. He's the only living well, that's not true. Bill Clinton's alive.
Yeah.
I guess like from the 20th century.
Oh yeah.
Bill Clinton's alive. That doesn't make any sense. They totally ignored the 90s. But like Jimmy Carter outlived Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, outlived the Queen, outlived Gorbachev. Gorbachev recently died.
Right.
Someone made this funny meme of like it's Infinity War when when Thanos snaps, and he sees the young Gamora, and he goes, "What did you lose?" And he goes, "Everything," or whatever. And they're like, "It's Gorbachev though," and he's near Pizza Hut. It's like, "What did you lose? What did you have to lose to get the Pizza Hut?" And he's like, "Everything."
Yeah, basically.
Thanos.
God,
so they can bring the free market to Russia.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trump versus the DOJ. This guy, the fucking political loser, but for some reason, is still considered a political threat. And the only reason why, because of our fucked up what do you call it? Electoral college.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The latest thing with the Trump versus the DOJ is there's been like some weird stuff. First of all, that Judge Eileen Cannon, ruled in favor of Trump that a special master, that the FBI shouldn't be able to look at anything they seized until a special master is able to look at it first.
So this judge supposedly is like one of the horrible judges that Trump put in?
Yeah, she's a particularly bad one.
So she should be like recused.
Yeah. Well, the deal is there are times when a special master would make sense. Like, let's say, you think that there's evidence of that a doctor's running an oxy ring, like giving out oxy wrongly or whatever, and the cops go in and take all his records. There may be all sorts of weird records in there that the cops have no business in looking at. They couldn't sit there and sift through the records when they seized them, but a judge would appoint a special master who would go in there and say, oh, okay, these are the records that you're probably interested in, and these other records have nothing to do with it. So the special master makes sense in a decent number of cases,
Right.
This is not one of them. It just isn't one of them. And everyone, like even a lot of right wingers, not the crazy MAGA chuds, but like Bill Barr even said, like, no, the judge is wrong here.
That's probably why all the nutty right wingers in media are like going off about Bill Barr.
Right. Anyway, the Eileen Cannon declared that, and everyone was stunned. No one thought she would do that, and she did. It was just like a lot of people said her ruling is just wrong. So anyway, tonight the DOJ appealed it. Now, unfortunately, the place they have to appeal is the 11th Circuit Court, which is stacked with Trump appointees and is monitored by Clarence Thomas.
Come on. This is ridiculous. This is like such a
it really is
bullshit.
Crazy. So now the 11th Circuit has to decide. They have like 7 days to make a decision. And the Department of Justice put in 2 appeals. The first one says FBI should be able to keep looking at all this shit. And the second appeal was to like vacate the whole Judge Cannon's order. So a lot of people are saying that that Judge Cannon's ruling was so bad that the 11th Circuit really has to overturn it. But man, we've seen instances before
You
where
know, Clarence Thomas doesn't give a fuck. Why is he the one that oversees that?
it's just luck of the draw. Each judge is appointed, and I think it's a rotating basis.
This is like
oversight.
This is the same energy as like, I know it's not the same thing, but like I remember early last year when all these things were trying to get through in the Senate, and they were like, "Oh, the Senate parliamentarian that you can't do this," and people were like, "Who the fuck is the unelected middle manager that like could easily be sidestepped?" And they use that as an excuse to not do anything. That's what I'm getting out of this. It's like that. This seems like some bullshit that is being put in place to protect Trump.
I don't know. A lot of people are saying that this is just going to be tough anyway, because like some of the stuff is so secret that the government might not even want to bring it to a court, you know?
Dude, the guy fucking held on to First of all, he acts like he owns these documents. They're not his.
Yeah.
It's not. They want this judge that should be tossed out. Is giving him executive privilege.
That's crazy.
Even though he is not the president anymore.
Well, that they even said that he
doesn't have that privilege anymore.
The judge said Biden has remained silent on the matter of executive privilege, and like page 17 in the court documents is a letter from the Biden administration saying no, there's no executive privilege. She just didn't even like a lot of the stuff in her ruling is just factually wrong. Like,
well, she's a MAGA chud put into a position for life. She doesn't have to fucking judge based on reality.
Yeah. So anyway,
they play by different rules. So I don't know. This whole thing, I mean, like I said, it wouldn't shock me in the day if Trump goes free and he gets to run for president again.
I think
again, why would anyone want this guy to be president again? This guy literally all he does is bitch and complain that he won't accept the fact that he fucking lost. He won't own up for January 6th. He won't own up for like this guy's a fucking loser.
Look, I'm all for this. There's 8 weeks left until the midterms. At least one of those weeks, the next one, is going to be Trump bitching about this and the news covering this. And then there's going to be a ruling, and then there's going to be another week of Trump bitching about it and newspapers. So the longer people keep talking about all those classified documents the FBI found in Trump's hotel, that's good. That's good, I think. Keep that in the news.
Yeah.
Just keep talking about it, until we solve it. And Trump seems to want to slow walk the solving of it. Fine. That's fine.
I mean, that's all he had. Like, he gave some, he went to some rally, and without any irony, he's talking about corruption of Clinton. And it's hysterical now with everything coming out. We already knew he was corrupt and horrible to begin with, but with everything coming out, it's just hysterical. But the best part too is okay, so Joe Biden, besides the fact that he's Hitler, right? Because he gave that speech pointing out Nazis in the country and saying how they're dangerous to the country. Right. It wasn't, he wasn't Hitler because he was pointing out how bad these people were. And like I said, if he was Hitler, these people would like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Biden's also a dementia case, and he can't speak, and he has no ability. He doesn't know where he is. He needs his wife to guide him. They say all this shit all the time, but he's also a mastermind. Trump gives a speech at one of his rallies recently. I think it wasn't even really a rally for him. The best part is, okay, if you're a politician running for something, and you're like, oh man, I need Trump to come help me.
Yeah.
He ends up not even talking about you. Half the time, he doesn't remember your name. It was Dr. Oz. He didn't even say yeah, Dr. Oz is the guy you need to vote for. This was I think this was in Philly or Pittsburgh or something of this rally.
Yeah, it's all about him.
It's all about him. And I guess it doesn't matter. Oz is I don't care as long as these people think they're voting for, I don't care if these fucking idiots think they're voting for Trump.
Yeah.
That works for me. Vote for Dr. Oz, vote for Trump. That's all he cares about.
Yeah, true.
He said the most bizarre thing. He claimed that he had a talk with Mark Zuckerberg,
right,
White House last week. Told him what to do about Facebook. He's like, yeah, I had a talk with him last week in the White House. I'm like,
you haven't been in the White House in 2 years.
Sit there and just be like, are you all dumb and deluded? You're not one person's like, sir. You haven't been in the we still acknowledge you as the president because we're nuts and we think you're the president still. But how did you talk to Mark Zuckerberg in the White House?
Yeah.
They think that he is the president, and that he
Oh, a lot
lives
of them
in
do.
like
Yeah.
White House B, that is in the other dimension of Gazurbergerp, Gazurp,
Sure.
where the other White House B is. They believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They think he's like there's a second president. So whenever there's success by Biden, it's actually Trump. Trump did it.
Yeah. It is.
Trump lowered insulin costs. It's crazy.
It's super delusional. I don't know.
I always thought that was great. Like when he was president, like he had a cult with the QAnon cult, and they would ask him about it. And he's like, oh, I don't know anything about that. Wink. But
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, well, they're against like pedos. That's a good thing, eh? That's a good thing. If they were against pedos, they wouldn't be supporting him.
Yeah, for sure.
They really were against. Yeah, we'll see what comes out of it. I mean, I don't know. I'm pessimistic.
Yeah, I'm built in pessimistic about stuff.
I mean, like
this.
if fucking Alex Jones is getting thrown in jail, if Steve Bannon doesn't go to jail,
well,
Trump will never see prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the justice system in our country can't even put a garbage dump like Steve Bannon away in prison for all the crimes that he's committed,
I think Steve Bannon's screwed. I do.
I mean, what, he'll go to a white collar prison probably? Get to play badminton all day.
That's fine. That'd be terrible.
I just think it was just funny when he said that, like, you'll have to kill me. I treat it as like, don't promise us a good time, okay? Don't make promises you're not going to keep.
Yeah. I saw there's this big article. I don't know if you saw it. I'm speaking of like funny MAGA chuds under duress. There's a January 6th defendant. He's been in jail for like, a year or so because he's a head case in a dangerous society. And he bitches constantly about needing a gluten-free diet. And he's always going on a hunger strike, but then the guards find him eating food that he's stored in his cell because he can't stay on his hunger strike for more than 20 minutes.
So fucking funny.
And he says he has celiac disease, but
and
there's
he's
no
eating like donuts.
There's no record of it. And he spends all his money at the commissary on honey buns.
I don't think those are gluten-free.
They're not.
They're like literally the opposite.
They're like simply gluten. They're like gluten snacks.
You're literally, it's not even a honey bun. You're just eating a glob of gluten.
But he's always filing appeals saying how like the guards are like, they film themselves like preparing his food, making sure that
oh my god, I can't. This is like it's like a comedy.
It is
shit, like you can't even write this shit.
And the dude, I mean, like if you look at him and he bitches about this, crying about his.
Is he like super fat? Is that the joke too?
I don't think he's like he's not like
starving. He's not Gandhi.
But yeah, but he's not like super big. But like that on the internet he would be the kind of person that's like, I eat raw meat and blah blah, and if you have
he'd be making fun of people who need gluten diets.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Your vagina.
It's hilarious. He threatens to go on a hunger strike, and the guards find him like shoving honey buns down.
What about that one asshole from the Proud Boys, that Billy Bob?
Oh yeah.
His name is Big Papa. Big Papa Pump. No, not that guy. There's the other guy. Like his name's like Big Papa Pump or something.
I'm talking about like Enrique.
No, not that guy. He's another one.
Stuart Rhodes.
No, he's like a big dude. He has like a dumb name. Like his pictures him with like Lindsey Graham. Like
I know who you're talking about. I forget his name.
And he like made claims out like he has to eat an all meat diet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because there's too much soy. And it's just so funny because it's like, oh my god, this ruse you have to keep up.
I would give
masculine you are.
Slices of pimento loaf. Like that's it. Just over and over again.
You get all you let to eat is petty fours. Little petty fours.
Well, all right. So moving to a different topic. It's a related one. Another round of abortion trigger laws went into effect.
Are you triggered?
I went in and looked in these states. It's like I think it's South Carolina and
Well, Texas
Oklahoma.
went into effect like last week.
Yeah, but like none of these politicians are bragging about it anymore. None of them
So
are.
was it Ohio,
Um,
South Carolina?
let me see if I got a list here.
Well, how many states now is it? Is
It's
Florida?
like
Is
no,
Florida still one of those states or no?
Florida's weird. Florida already had really strict restrictions. Like you couldn't get an abortion for almost like any reason after I want to say like 16 weeks. And they haven't done anything. And my suspicion is that no
He's waiting
Republican,
for the election.
yeah, the minute the election's over, if they still have power, you will see like probably a complete ban on abortions.
Yeah.
I don't know that for a fact, but that's my guess. Um, let's see, what are the ones that abortion trigger laws that went into effect? North Dakota, Kentucky, and there's one other one, Tennessee. All came out today.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, a lot of these, like North Dakota had one, and then like a lot of the trigger laws go into effect, and then someone sues, and then it takes a week or two to go through the courts, and then it gets upheld, and then the trigger law goes into effect. But all these Republicans are running from it, and the Texas Tribune has run a bunch of articles where they talk to women, and so far none of them have been elective abortions, which are important too, but they've all been the horror stories that the Republicans swear would never happen, and there's already a ton of them.
Right, it's the actual like why we need to have abortions, because sometimes you can't control life.
Right, there's a woman who had like a really problematic pregnancy, and the fetus was brain dead, but it had a beating heart, or so it had some
the one
thing.
You're talking about the one where like the baby literally has no head.
No, that's in Louisiana. That happened a couple of weeks ago, and that's still happening, to the best of my knowledge. These are all women from Texas. This is just Texas women, and like one had a really problematic pregnancy. One had to go to another state to get an abortion because she had like preeclampsia that was like putting her health terribly at risk.
I always say it wrong. Epitopic or what is it?
Ectopic. I don't think they've done one on ectopic pregnancies yet, but I mean they're doing those types of stories. Like, and it's just a lot of them. And these women, like most of these women, they're like, I had no. This is not what I want to do.
They planned the pregnancy probably. Yeah. They wanted to have a baby, but unfortunately something happened. And the thing that's fucked up is that if you allow these people to, have an abortion, they probably would try again in a couple of months to have a kid, and maybe then that kid, but instead what's going to happen is they're going to be forced to deliver basically a dead corpse or a baby that's going to die in a week, that's not going to be able to live off of a system, anything like that. And it's cruel to the baby too.
Well,
there's be a short life of pain, and what does that do to the mother and the father? The psychological damage that's going to leave. They're never going to want to have a fucking kid again. What happens if that happens again? And the state's like, no, you can't. You got to deliver this fucking thing again, and it's a nightmare.
Well, they've also done a lot of stories of like 17-year-olds that got pregnant, and they wind up keeping the kid. They go through the pregnancy, they have a kid, and then they keep the kid, and they're like, life is done. I mean, and these kids aren't like ambivalent about like having a kid or not having a kid, but what they found is, and this is what the story focuses on, is that all the supports have been stripped away. They don't have daycare options, they don't have medicine for their kids, they don't have money to feed.
How are they going to be able to work? How are they be able to? You got to be able to work, but you can't take the baby with you because the company doesn't provide childcare, and they can't afford childcare because you don't have a job. And the system, they don't care. They don't give a fuck. That's why I said we talked about this. They
just don't care.
Podcast. They don't fucking care. Republicans don't give a shit. Deep down, they don't care. Every bad thing that happened to you was your fault, even though most of these people that claim to believe this probably came from wealth or came from a supportive system and they're like, well, my life was great. You clearly made bad choices.
In almost every state where the Republicans are in charge, there have been abortion bans and triggers and stuff like that, and none of them are defending it. None of them. Now
because they know it's incredibly, that Blake Masters guy, the guy running for Senate in Arizona, he was getting like super defensive and pissed. He's like, how dare you accuse me of like being 100% against abortion? It's like,
was on your website.
Literally on your website. We took screenshots.
Yeah. I mean, and
fucking ghoul.
And a lot of people are really thinking like, look, previously it looked like the Republicans were going to win the Senate and the House. And now it looks like the Democrats are probably going to keep the Senate. The House is still probably going to go Republican.
Hey, I saw a poll recently and it said that like the Democrats were like 10% ahead. Now people have to vote.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Make it happen. But it's possible. I mean, listen,
Oh, yeah.
If the Democrats deliver on things, supposedly, and we'll see if this happens, because man, this would be an election win. Biden supposedly is going to legalize weed.
Oh,
he's going to drop I don't know if it's legalized weed or drop the federal charge. Because the joke is that if even though weed is legal in Colorado, weed is legal in a lot of states in the country, the federal government can come in and shut down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's always been the weird part of it, is that like theoretically the FBI could go into a Denver head shop and arrest everyone. They don't, but they can.
I guess supposedly that would be the first stage of basically legalizing weed in the country, is that they're going to drop federal charges or whatever it is, that they won't see it as a crime, I guess, or whatever. And
they'll decriminalize it, not legalize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
supposedly that will be a fucking huge. You'll see every Republican. Like I said, you want to see so-called weed head Joe Rogan come out against weed?
Yeah.
It'll be when Joe Biden legalizes it.
Well,
do we really need to have it legal? I mean, making it legal, it won't be cool anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll too put a lot of pressure on states, because right now people in Texas can say, well, like, look, why would we legalize weed? It's against federal law.
I think they'll never legalize it because of the oil companies.
I don't know. Like, weed has changed a lot. Like,
have you ever looked into? I mean, I remember having talks with like Potta, like back in the day, and then I remember hearing stories and saying that like one of the main reasons why hemp was made illegal was because of all the multiple uses of it outside of the drug element.
I've heard that
companies and the plastic, oil plastic industries and everything, like weed, like or hemp ropes are very strong. Like, I mean,
but you can already buy a lot of that shit. Like,
but you stigmatize it.
Yeah.
To the point where it's not the average. It's not the go-to product. It's a niche product. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You stigmatize it to the point people are gonna be like, a hemp rope? What? Are you gonna smoke a doobie with it?
Yeah, I think a lot of that.
Says the word doobie makes me crack up.
Yeah,
it's a funny word, because I think it's Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
rolling doobies in the back.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. I think that I think marijuana is eventually going to be legal. It's just a matter.
I just think, like, man, if he wants to, that would be a great October surprise.
Yeah.
And in the middle, October 15th, come in and just say, you know what? We're going to legalize weed.
Right.
Student loans. Now the Tolkien professor, the guy who went to college and the Tolkien professor.
Yeah.
Legally smoke weed. That's how the Republicans will run it, and they'll be like, well, you, the hardworking, non-smoking weed HVAC guy.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of those. I'm sure there's a lot of
lesbian dance theory.
Lesbian. Yeah, I think it was Lauren Boebert was saying,
like, how when the student loan thing happened, I don't think we talked about this. Every Republican all of a sudden, like, on Twitter was talking about, like, as if the only thing people go to college for is like Tolkien philosophy, lesbian dance theory,
so stupid
liberal arts thing. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to be like They're trying to make it like an other. Like you're the guy who works, you're the struggling, you're the Joe the plumber.
But they don't realize that like so many of those HVAC workers probably got student loans to go to an HVAC school. I mean, like
there's probably like a guy who's got a student loan who's an HVAC person. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Matt?
Yeah, right. He's like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm gonna get like my life back.
There it is. Like, there's like whatever weirdos in Fox are like rooting these idiots on. Like, yeah, the only people that go to college, right? The fact that you still need school.
It's not just college, it's trade school and all that. Barber school.
There's people who need loans for that too.
Yeah.
That's still a school.
You get Pell Grants to go learn how to drive a truck or learn how to do HVAC or all sorts of shit.
Like,
you know?
No, you learned how to do that in your uncle's garage when you were 8.
All the kids, and yeah, like if that's the case, then like let's save a bit of money and get rid of the GI Bill and see how that goes. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Right, exactly. They want to like stigmatize student loans and make it sound like the people with the most ridiculous degrees are the only people going to college.
Yeah.
Well, like, you're right. The guy who works as an HVAC person is like, yeah, I'm actually going to benefit from this.
I taught
Joe Brandon.
I taught at the rural school that had like a middle of the road graduation rate. It was a lot of poorer families, a lot of families of immigrants and whatnot, and some wealthy kids and whatnot. I mean, it wasn't monolithic, but man, a lot of them that did go off to college, they went to this place called iTech and they learned how to drive trucks. That was a big one, like semi trucks. Little 8-week program. They had to pay for it. They got a Pell Grant. There's a big citrus program there that was at a trade school that literally just taught you how to work those citrus harvesters and like how to identify different citrus diseases. All of these kids, a lot of them, a lot more than you might think, did some sort of training or education after high school.
I think it's hysterical that they're going. Like I said, it's just another fit. They lost that argument. Yeah. And they're just trying to make it, they're trying to like downplay it and make it like a joke and like belittle it and make it like the only people who go to college are people with berets who run like Croatian dance or something.
They will just point to my upcoming TikTok channel, Lesbian Dance Professor, and
just you watching porn.
You'll see like scratch offs everywhere in the background, and so like
scratch open bags of hot Cheetos scattered. You're wearing just socks.
Right. The voice of an older woman in the background. I'll be like, Mom, I'm doing my show.
I'm doing my show about that. Remember that student loan I got?
Go get me some
paid off fully by Joe Brandon.
Go get me some curly fries. Take the Biden money. I left some on the.
Yeah. Thanks to that HVAC guy that won't get it all. Joe the HVAC guy.
Yeah. Now that they've shut down Lauren Boebert's restaurant, I can take some of my free tax dollars.
Lauren Boebert's fucking food poisoning factory.
She's named after that lovely couple, Salmonella. Salmonella. Salmonella's Roadside Diner.
They're my favorite characters in Cheers. The would they, won't they? Salmonella.
Yes, exactly. And at Lauren Boebert's restaurant, it's always that they will.
They always will. I will always end up throwing up in the toilet for a week, shitting blood.
Salmonella's Roadside Diner. Yeah, I don't know. I do think that like all this, I guess this is kind of like going in. All of this has been going into the next topic of the upcoming election.
Yeah,
I think all these trends are looking good for the Democrats, which is great news.
It's a communication war right now, and that's what the Republicans will try to flood the airwaves with as much nonsense as possible to distract from like any achievement that gets done in the next couple of weeks.
But I think for once in my life, the Democrats have a clear message and an easy to understand one. Like the Republicans said for years they wouldn't outlaw abortion, and they just did.
Republicans basically yeah, like that's always been like the argument about Democrats, like the
Yeah,
lawful or whatever, and the Republicans have allowed them to
right.
basically they gave them, yeah, you basically strip people of a right that most people enjoy their entire life, and
Yeah.
then people learn like the atrocities that will happen with this right taken away. It was never just a simple thing. And again, we saw all these idiots that like
Yep.
were shocked when they found out that like, wait, if I thought we were just protecting babies, it was like, no, it
Yeah.
was never about that. It
And
was
then
never about that. That was
all
always
the
just,
all the ancillary issues, like Joe Biden giving a small amount of money to people that went to school, that's benefits so many people, and Joe Biden, like, being able to swing by Mississippi and say like, hey, I know your governor spent all the money on like picketing a drag queen's ice cream social,
yeah,
and
they
you don't have
paid
any
to bust
water.
out Proud Boys to harass
Right.
drag queen reading, but
I
yeah, who needs
understand that.
fresh water? Yeah, the governor. You were complimenting Mississippi last week,
I was just saying, like, he wasn't. It was a little more nuanced
right? I'm just
initially.
fucking with you,
Yeah,
but it was just funny because like the next day, I remember I literally was like the next day, and I saw like Governor Mississippi. He's like, yeah, maybe we should just privatize the water, and
yeah.
it's like, man, these guys,
Fucking
man, they can never come up with something different. That's all. That's their go-to on everything.
yeah.
Privatize in every fucking incident.
Yep.
Privatizing any type of public works doesn't
Decreases
work,
service, increases prices. Always.
and ruins the quality.
Hmm.
Oh, you wanted clean water. Well, you're only paying the entry level. That gets
Yeah.
you groundwater,
You have the silver package of
where
water.
it's filled with
Right.
silver.
Runoff from Salmonella's roadside diner.
From all the barf and shit from
Yeah.
Lauren Boebert's Salmonella Diner.
Well, I would say that like a lot of the big trends are moving in the Democrats' favor, and the Republicans have brilliantly entrusted all of their money to Rick Scott, who
Hey,
somehow
what's that
lost.
about?
They had like 200 and some million, and now they have like 25 million, like saved up to run ads. They have to pull ads in a lot of markets.
What did Rick Scott do?
Nobody knows. That's the thing. That's what people are pissed
I
about. They're
can't
like,
believe the guy who was like arrested for fraud,
yeah,
right?
guy.
Wasn't he like literally arrested for fraud?
Well, he was
Like that
on
was the
trial.
I remember when he won the governorship in Florida, right? He was
Yep.
governor.
Yeah, he beat
It
Charlie
start
Crist.
Yeah. That it was like, congrats, you elected a criminal. The
Yeah,
guy was a literal criminal.
yeah.
So
He pled the fifth like 100 times. About Medicare fraud.
see, that guy
You know,
sucks.
he's he's
one of
really
the
awful.
he's one of the worst. So they don't know where the money went.
They don't know where the money went. They don't know where the money is. They don't have enough money to compete. They have to pull out in a lot of markets. So,
Oh well.
yeah. And now you're looking at like, now you got to make some tough choices because like that Blake Masters in
He's
Arizona,
fucked.
I think he's fucked.
Well, I
So
just find it crazy that like, how's Kerry Lake like a threat at all? Like, to me, if you're a
yeah,
Democrat going top down or whatever, you got like, because what's his face is going to be on the top of the ticket. Actually, it's not. I don't think it's the governor. I think it's the senator.
I
And
don't know.
actually, I don't know how that works. Well, regardless, it's if you're voting Mark Kelly, I would imagine you would vote for the Democratic governor.
I would think I wonder
I
if
just can't
maybe
like, she's so MAGA.
I wonder if maybe Arizona's a little more blue than people make it out to be.
I think it is too, but like I'm saying, that she's not a normal Republican. She is like, she's running a Trump campaign.
Yeah.
She said the only way, she said this recently, like the only way she wins is that the election is not a fraud is if she wins.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's a joke. How, like, she's not a serious person. So like, if you're supposed to be like, if you're like, well, listen, I'm going to vote for Republican here, vote for Democrat here, I'm going to vote for Mark Kelly. That's the Republican you're going to vote for?
That's the thing. It's like I get. I wouldn't support it, but like if you live in Utah, I could see voting for a Democrat mayor a Democrat congressman and also voting for Mitt Romney as the senator. But I get that. Like that
I
doesn't.
don't, but sure.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. I don't personally get it. But like, if you said, "Hey, such a person exists," I would be like, "Yeah,
Oh, I'm
probably."
sure they do exist.
Yeah.
They're
But
weird.
like, if you told me that someone is going to vote for Mark Kelly and Carrie Lake, I don't think that person
makes no sense.
exists.
Like I said, she is just so that's all she's running on.
Yeah.
She's literally saying Trump's president. She is like completely delusional. She's ignoring the 2020 election. What is she running on? Like that's a lot of these other guys. I saw some other guys like running for Congress, and all he does is fight with that Kissinger guy,
Yeah.
some MAGA dude, and he's just talking about how corrupt and it's like, well, that's all this guy does, right? Like,
Yeah.
leave a tweet like, weren't you in January 6th?
Yeah. A lot of them were.
It's like you. Oh, the best was that guy in Nevada got tossed out. The one.
Yeah.
He was
New
the
Mexico.
one. And what the great thing about this, what they call that, there's a word for it, like Schadenfreude or.
Oh yeah, yeah. When you
like,
get joy from the pain of others.
He's the guy who was denying an election of somebody, and they had to like overpower him or something like that. And now he was kicked out of his position by a judge. Right? He's removed from office.
Yeah, and he's super butthurt about it.
He attended January 6th also.
Yeah.
This fucking guy.
Yeah. And
Fuck
he's
that
really
guy.
His big argument was that they shouldn't overthrow an election.
Right. Yeah, these guys have no irony. It's like the other day, I guess California is having some issues with power right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the Republicans are like all over that, like fucking white on rice. And they are just like ignoring the problems with Texas, ignoring the problems with Arizona. Like the Arizona senator, no, Arizona congressman. Is it Andy Biggs or something? Is that the guy's name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He literally was. Is he from? I guess from Arizona.
I think he's from Arizona.
He was tweeting attacking Gavin Newsom and stuff, and people were like, "Dude, in your state, you're not supposed to run the air under 80."
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Arizona has no water.
Yeah, Ted Cruz is like criticizing Gavin Newsom for like he's wearing a sweater in a very cool office. And like, dude, you're the guy who fled your state when it got too cold.
And then blamed it on your daughter.
Yeah, and you blamed it on your young daughter. It's like, but it's like these guys have no fucking shame or irony whatsoever in their statements. Like, dude, you're literally Ted Cancun Cruz. Yeah. Like, that's who you are. If that motherfucker ever runs for president again, any Republican on that stage doesn't call him out for that moment, it's a failure on their part. Because that would be such an easy win. This guy has no right to ever criticize anyone.
Yeah, that was just such a cowardly move,
What, fleeing the state?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean,
that's just like, that's, anybody knows that. Like, if you ask...
he's like literally the politician. You ever watch the movie Akira? You have.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Remember there's like the politician with like the papers and he has like the heart attack?
Right.
Like the buck teeth. Looks like a rat. That's Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, like, there's like you said, I guess the real fear is more Congress.
Yeah.
The Alaska thing's a big fucking deal. I guess Sarah Palin. So what's the deal? Like, supposedly Sarah Palin was trying to get on the ticket or something for the November.
Yeah.
She's saying that's not happening.
I don't know what the decision on that is, but like, she's got to run the woman who won, the Democrat, has to run against someone, I believe. I don't know why. I don't know if Sarah Palin is or isn't on the November ballot.
I don't think she is.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
We gotta look this up.
Yeah. I'm just kind of looking at it now.
Sarah Palin.
She lost the special election, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
She was on TV a lot complaining about it, saying that everyone should be mad.
Yeah.
Let's see, let's see. She is calling on the other oh no. Fellow Republican.
It says Bud is back on ballot in November.
No, all three candidates are back on the ballot again in November. So all three ran for Congress this time and the Democrat won, and all three are going to run next time. And Sarah Palin is telling the other Republican, hey, drop out, and then I'll get all the Republican votes and I'll go in.
And they're like, no.
Well, the other Republicans probably like, well, maybe you drop out. You know, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like, Sarah Palin's a joke. If I was one of those Republicans, I'd be like, fuck you.
I saw her, and this I know this comes off as like shallow or whatever, but like her whole shtick used to be like, I'm a soccer mom with lipstick, or a hockey mom.
Oh, yeah, I'm a pit bull. What's the difference between a pit bull and a soccer mom?
Yeah. And her whole shtick used to be like, I'm pretty. You know, that she really
fucking Skeletor.
And now she looks terrible. She looks like angry, and like she looks like some Karen at a supermarket.
She looks like a fucking, like she did meth.
Yeah. Yeah. So
probably did.
Well, look, man, I'll bet you the last 5-6 years have been hard on her because she's a fucking laughing stock. You know, and like every time you open the paper
I imagine the bank account isn't as big as it was in 2010.
Yeah.
Right. I guarantee you she's like, first of all, she's not even married to that guy anymore.
No,
I don't want to talk about this woman's personal life. She's a fucking joke. If I was a Republican congressman, if I was running for a Senate, I would definitely not. She would be the last person. If they were smart, I don't want them. I want them to lose. I want the Democrat to stay in.
Yeah.
But if they were smart, they would say, I'm going to give all my votes to you, not her.
Well, if the Republican
joke,
if the Republican Party was smart, they would say like to one of their donors, like, hey, you know, Alaska, you know, Salmon Fuckers Incorporated, why don't you hire on Sarah Palin as your vice president in charge of salmon fucking? And
salmon fucking,
and you know,
industry in Alaska
at like a $200,000 a year salary, and you know,
just to get rid of her.
Yeah, have it be a no-show job. Like that's
just like a bribe, like just show up at events once in a while.
A big donor hires her to do something for their company, and she's like, everyone's happy. And then the other Republican
on Fox a bunch of times,
right? Yeah,
she gets her way. She gets a decent paying job, some other gigs,
and it's prestigious. And yeah, they give her a country club membership or something, maybe a couple of TVs.
It's so funny that this is like, that's the life, man. That's my goal, to fail up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally failing up.
They always say in the NFL, like the best job is backup quarterback. You know, like
because you basically collect checks and you don't get hurt.
Yeah, right? And people are always saying like, put in so and so, he's better than you know, but you're just sitting on the bench like and reading the paper or something like.
Backup quarterback. I mean, like that's really funny. They're like, that's actually a brilliant move to get rid of Palin. It's just like Salmon Fuckers Incorporated.
Yeah, that would be my advice to the Republican Party, which I hope they don't take. But that would work. I know that would work. She would jump at the job of vice president of Salmon Fuckers Incorporated, and that would get her out of the picture. So hopefully they don't.
Like I said, if I was one of those Republicans, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not giving it to you. Wasn't like the whole joke was she lost because all the people who voted for her didn't vote for like a second or third candidate?
Well, all the people, I think all the people that voted for Palin probably did put the other Republican as their number 2 choice. All the people that voted for the other Republican did not put Sarah as their second. They didn't put anyone as their second choice.
They hated her.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck that. We don't want her.
So that's actually like that even though the Republicans put it in there to fuck over the Democrats, that's probably the silver bullet. That would probably work really well in a bunch of states because the MAGA chuds would eat themselves alive, you know?
I'm telling you, you know, yeah. The funny thing is, like, ranked choice voting, which I guess they have in Canada, right?
I don't know. I know that it's a thing.
But the ranked choice voting would be great because it would solve all the problems of a third party spoiler.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's say you were like, I really want to vote for like Green or this independent.
Right.
I'll put, like you said, Joe Biden's like second or third on my list.
Yeah.
It's still like, then you don't have the threat of a third party. But then again, that will never happen because Republicans would be like, no, we like third party.
Well, that would be like,
away from you.
That would have fixed the Al Gore thing. Because if all the Ralph Nader voters really voted for Ralph Nader because they're progressive, they would have ranked their ballot Nader, Gore, Bush. Or Nader Gore, you know, or whatever.
I know Bush.
And right, no Bush.
I mean, you could in the end, you still don't have to put anything else.
And then if Nader didn't clear a certain threshold, all his votes would have reverted to Gore, and Gore would have won. You know, I mean that would have been.
I know. I hate the whole like blaming Nader for why Gore lost. I mean, really, it came down to Florida.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, like, look.
You could blame the Democrats for not putting up an inspirational candidacy and allowing Nader to suck all the oxygen.
That's that's what I was going to say. Is like if you're Al Gore and you're running against Bush and Nader, then you got to beat both of them in a way that you beat both of them and don't allow Bush to win. You just got to know
the problem is they were able to use the whole Clinton blowjob as a way to make Al Gore run in a more conservative, it was bullshit. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with the election. Real quick. Well, I don't know how to talk about this. It was like AOC was being interviewed, and she just said basically talking about how basically people in this country hate women and how she would never run for president. Like a bunch of her own personal issues that she has with some things, but like Tucker Carlson was like making fun of her and mocking and saying, "Who doesn't hate women? Who loves women?" It's like, I don't know. I think she might have a point because people voted against Hillary Clinton for the worst guy, the worst politician ever, Trump. That's a good example. Like you could say whatever, Hillary Clinton was a good politician, but she was a million times more qualified than Trump was. And then the other thing is like, you motherfuckers literally happily danced when the Supreme Court stripped a woman's body autonomy away.
Yeah, briefly.
Wait, you want to fuck them? You know what I mean? Like, you don't love, not you, Joe. I'm not saying you. I'm just leaving you out of this. It's the yous who literally make these claims, but then happily, they want they love women. They love women in their place. They love women not to be in power, or if they are in power, at least to preserve the white power structure, the white male, whatever you want to call it. So she has a solid point there. And I think Carlson's just a horrible person.
Agreed. So, yeah. I mean,
all right. Last thing we were going to talk about was this Texas judge. Okay. So again, this is like a federal judge, and I guess a federal judge can fuck over anything they want. I mean, for the good or bad.
This is a George W. Bush appointee. He's been on the bench for a while, and they say conservative plaintiffs all over the country seek his courtroom out. They'll file the case in his jurisdiction because he reliably votes for conservatives. And a Christian management company or something came in and said, we don't think that we should have to purchase HIV treatment drugs through our insurance plan. So since you can't decouple it, we shouldn't have to provide insurance to anyone. And therefore
let's just kill a whole bunch of people.
Well, this one was bizarre because, like, let me be clear. All these little religious arguments are bullshit. If your insurance plan is covering boner pills and you don't want to cover birth control, you're
a hypocrite and a liar, and I don't believe you. Yeah, you're right. So the whole argument is that like God decided like you were supposed to get pregnant. Okay, well, God decided you can't have an erection anymore.
Right. God struck down your boner.
This is God's plan, dude. You don't have a right to defy God.
So all these companies have no problems with all these other things, but they don't want. Anyway,
they're run by guys on boner pills.
This one's unique because all the other ones used to be specifically about things that you could twist your head around and say are choice, like birth control or stuff like that. This one is like HIV prevention. Like you can get HIV from a lot of different ways. I mean, mostly now it's through sexual
I mean,
contact,
it's
but
always mostly been through sexual contact, but there in the past, people have got it from needles. People have got it.
contamination, drug use.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like that's probably
So, unfortunately, there's people who are born with it.
yeah, but like it's not uncommon for like intravenous drug users to like get infected and stuff like that. Anyway, so this is just a drug that like prevents people from getting HIV, and they used it as like a cudgel so that they can start chipping away the Affordable Health Care Act. The Affordable Health Care Act has been around for a long time now.
Been around since 20. When did it go into effect? I think the elements went into effect in 2014. Like the full effect was 2014. That was when Ted Cruz bravely shut down the government.
Right. So it's like 8 years.
Rollout of. Well, okay, that's the funny thing too, because it's like, okay, I'm seeing a similarity to the 2018 election, midterm election.
Yeah.
We're talking, back to elections. Back in 2018, the Republicans were on defense and saying, we're not going to take away the parts you like in the
right, yeah,
the HBA, but we're not going to get rid of previous conditions.
Right.
And everyone's like, that's impossible. You have to. There's no way. If you get rid of it, or they would come up with shit like, we're gonna make a special pool, and it's like that's even worse. It's like even more unaffordable. That's not how it works. It's the same thing they're doing now with abortion. They're like, well, I never said that they couldn't have them if
they do this all the time. They know that
they're unpopular positions.
Yeah, they have several really big unpopular positions.
The only popular position they have, and they're trying to bring it back, which is really funny, because it doesn't make any sense because there's the mask thing.
Yeah,
because some people
that worked.
Some people, enough percentage of people to affect an election, could not be bothered with the smallest inconvenience of wearing a mask once in a while.
Well, I think in some towns, and I think this is legit. I think it's bullshit, but also legit. In some towns, and people like me and you were never affected. If you shut down a school, and your kid's like in second grade, then you're fucked. You have to quit your job, or you have to. I don't know what
you have to have a person. You have to have a family member at home. Shutting down is one thing because that was a pandemic. They're just bitching about masks.
Yeah. Well, I think that the mask things. Right, that they latched onto that quickly too.
That's the only thing they had that was enough to like get like the 2-3% more people to vote Republican or not vote Democrat.
Right,
that the Republican was able to win, but there is no mask mandate anymore.
No.
I mean, I'm getting the new vaccine is rolled out. I'm getting that next week.
My dad is getting that in a week or so.
Well, I haven't had a booster since October of 2021.
See,
so I'll get my next Tuesday.
I got the fourth booster not that long ago, so I don't know when I'm eligible for the next one. I think I have to probably wait a year from my last booster, but I gotta ask my doctor.
I don't know idea. I don't know. It's like because this is a different. You might have to get this, or you don't have to do whatever the fuck you want, But this is. They basically updated it
to cover Omicron.
Yeah. Because technically, like, I'm not immunocompromised, but then I put the date, and it's been basically a year. I'm qualified to get it.
Yeah.
I'm getting the flu shot at the same time. I don't know.
I gotta get the flu shot. I'm getting my shingles shot this month or so. I
always think the shingles is the funniest name for a thing because I just think of like roofs.
Yeah,
the roof of your house.
It sounds like Grayscale or something from Lord.
Dragon scale.
Right. Yeah.
that the Jon Snow's friends takes out a knife and just starts carving him off of you.
I would say, and I guess this is kind of where I'll leave it with the Texas judge thing. This is why elections are so important. And look, Biden, he stumbled a lot early. he's had some great victories lately, but he was always good about getting judges on the bench. And this asshole judge in Texas that's fucking around with the ACA, he's a George W. Bush appointee. That's fucking George. That's a long time ago. And this guy's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, it's a long time ago, but it's not that long time ago enough that he's going to retire anytime soon.
And
unless he's like 90.
Yeah.
Remember you told me about some guy who was put in by Nixon or something?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure 123.
Fuck.
He's the Dan Aykroyd judge from Nothing But Trouble, whatever that shitty movie was.
And then that Eileen Cannon, she just got on the bench.
She's like 12.
She's like 30-something years old.
My God, she's gonna be there forever.
So
once she gets bored, and she wants to hang out with Wongers.
She's aggressively banned Wongers.
Wants to hang out with Wongers and watch the rest
ruin The Sopranos.
Ruin The Sopranos while drinking yak milk vodka.
The best was like the second she spoiled Adriana's killing, and he got all pissed off, and then she revealed that Tony killed Christopher, and Wong just looks off into the distance. He's like, "You'll pay for this, Donnie Blaze." Like,
Donnie Blaze. Yeah, I mean, this is why this is why elections matter. This is why ranked choice voting would be great in more states, because all you people who need to feel like you're really defying the system by voting for Jill Stein, which was fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Listen, I understand voting for Nader. Nader had some actual cachet of doing stuff. Jill Stein's always been a shitty grifter. And Jill Stein was fucking had connections with Putin. I don't care. You show that pit, let's fake that photo. No, it wasn't. She was having dinner with Putin and Michael Flynn in fucking December of 2015. Come on now. When Ukraine was first invaded, the only thing she was tweeting about was how we shouldn't expand NATO. What a weird thing that, okay, we know what side you're on. What?
Odd timing.
Yeah, that's weird. Wait, this is it. I remember that. Anytime I saw that, I was like, you mean you're not going to put the tweet out saying, I think it's wrong that Russia is invading the Ukraine? I find it funny, too. I see these, right-wingers who are donate, the government can give all this money to the Ukraine. I'm like, you support Russian imperialism? That's weird.
It's weird.
Why are you why? Wait, and these are why are you pushing right-wing Russian propaganda? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Yeah, this is why there's a reason why you have to vote. If you don't like if you don't really like the candidate, you know what? Who fucking cares? If their platform's good,
they're going
to be putting in judges.
Yeah, they'll put in judges that you do like.
I just don't think people think that deep into things.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, that's great on that note.
On that note,
let's just talk about Wongers and have something happy and fun,
Yeah.
Madison with a Y, but you don't know.
Yeah, not what you think it is.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, on that note, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
You still going on about
that?
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.